Ah, I think we're live and such. So make sure. And any second now. There she goes.
I think we're live.
Yes, we are. Okay. Everything seems to be working. So anyway, yeah, I think I'll make this a regular once a week anyway. Pick somebody. And it'll probably be Bill because it's not too many people making videos. So all you got really is Bill and Dave. They'll probably win a lot of Wolf Awards. So in this video, he does mention me and argues that somehow he, I mean, just this, as if he's responding in some way, or as if something, he's already made some argument that this push thing can't possibly happen. And he seems that he's completely unaware of mock gravity and Lesage and all that stuff. And you know, against his own animation against the other people in terms of not listening. He just didn't listen to anything I said. He didn't pay any attention to it. So he's just referencing that somehow I made some sort of argument, but he never listened to the argument clearly. So just because he has such a short attention span and is incapable of paying any attention to anything anybody else has to say except himself, I'll just point out again, this has nothing to do with the Kashmir effect. That's a charge effect. I've done videos on that. And it really has nothing to do with gravity. I mean, nothing directly. Obviously, I'm arguing that gravity and magnetism are the same force, just one's a filtered version of the other. But yes, the Kashmir effect is not what I'm arguing. It's not what Lesage obviously argued. It's not mock gravity. Mock gravity does the inverse square law. It does it really, really well. And that's undeniable. And it's completely based on an idea of external pressure will create this illusion of attraction. And you ought to just do some catching up. They use it in real physics. They use it in analyzing gases and particles in gases. People have written papers speculating that galaxies were actually formed through this mechanism indirectly. That is, gravity affected smaller atoms, and the smaller atoms affected the movement of dust particles. And so it's not a direct, it's an indirect. It's gravity working twice, essentially. The gravity affects the little bits affect bigger bits. And so it's not directly gravity, but it's an indirect version of gravity. But yeah, so you just don't pay any attention. So yeah, so all I can say is mock gravity. Look it up. Lesage, look that up. Or watch one of my videos where I'm arguing this stuff. Watch one of the videos where you'd actually, you know, the overview videos that describe my theory. But you're really not into that, you know, equal time thing. So whatever. So I'll play his video, and you know, I just wanted to preface it, like I said, for a short attention span, just to clarify. He's just straw manning the push argument. He's not arguing with somebody who's advocating for push. He's not arguing to any of their arguments. He's not answering any of their arguments or any of their objections. He's just arguing with a straw man, and he's doing it overtly, just ignoring the argument entirely. So let me just see if there's anything else. Yeah, and you know, and in such insane ways too. Somewhere in here, he'll be talking. I mean, this rope around the donkey's neck. He doesn't get that if you found where's the friction with the donkey, where does the donkey feel you pulling? He feels you pulling on the back of his neck. He feels you pushing his neck, his head. He doesn't feel anything else. If you took a giant bucket and threw the bucket behind the donkey and pulled, where would the donkey feel it? Yes, he'd feel it as a push. You wouldn't feel any pull. You wouldn't feel like he's being pulled towards you. He would feel like he's being pushed either by his neck, his head. He's having his head pulled off. Okay, he's not having it pulled off. He's having it pushed off. And the doorknob argument is kind of obvious. So what's your response to that? I can give me an example of a pull, and I'll show you where it's a push. So what else? Pulling. Let's see. From where? Pulling process. Oh, it's an energetic process. So again, I've made these arguments about the fact that the conventional physics has no energy for either gravity or magnetism, and neither do you. Where's the energy for this pulling mechanism? Where does it come from? You can't pull. You can't twist ropes for free. So even if you're going to make this argument that it's twisting ropes and the ropes are pulling, you have to explain where the energy came from to twist the rope. Okay, so he keeps saying that no particle model can ever explain any of this. And of course it can, but you have to listen to the model before, you have to fairly evaluate the model before you can understand that truth. So if you're just going to say that no one's convinced you because you haven't heard anybody, because you haven't listened to anyone, and that's all you're pretty much saying. It's just pretty bad. So when they say particle there, they mean something else. So this is another argument. He keeps saying that conventional physics is a particle model. And then he admits, this is a direct quote, when they say particle, they mean something else. So you understand that they do that. That when they say it's particle physics, or when they say they don't mean particles. They mean wavicles. They mean perturbations. They mean something else. Conventional physics is not a particle model. So quit pretending by defeating their model, you've defeated particle physics. If you want to argue with somebody who's advocating for particle physics, argue with me, because mine's a particle model all the way down to the photon. That's as small as it gets. The graviton. All right, so now we'll play it and just sit there and wonder, this is the best you can do. I mean, it's just pathetic.
Oh, physics is mathematics, equations, numbers, and the number.
Physics is a description of reality. That's it. An effort to describe accurate reality. And you either do it well or you do it poorly. Yes, they're doing it poorly.
Numbers, the equations, that's what they lead us to believe, that there is some kind of four-dimensional canvas that we can't imagine. And the Earth, the sun first weighs it down, and the Earth rolls or slides around.
Right, and you were saying there's invisible ropes tied from every atom to every other atom, and they somehow magically don't get to. I can't imagine them. I can't imagine how they don't get tangled. I can't imagine how they could possibly function in any way whatsoever. And so you're not doing anything that's very. I get it. I can see it. I can't see it. I can't see how the ropes are connected. I can't see how there's any point in even having them connected to anything. I mean, there's no point in having a universe, because in your universe, the ropes do everything. So what do you need the matter bits for? What do you need electrons? What do you need anything for? Just have the ropes and just forget about the things at the end of the ropes, because they don't do anything. The ropes do everything. So you're just making the whole universe out of string. And again, should I straw man your argument by just calling your string theory?
That's the mechanism they propose, and they don't allow you to publish something saying it's irrational what you're proposing. They won't allow you to publish something like that. And I wrote a couple of articles lately about this in Quora. And that's that you're not allowed to criticize the physical interpretation. You want to publish something, come in here with your equations, okay? And anyways, why am I bringing all this up?
So he had mentioned me earlier in this video. I just not bothering playing it, and then he gets sidetracked and blah, 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 blah. So he calls me some weird guy for some reason. Like I'm weirder than anybody else. Like everybody on this planet isn't weird. And it's, this is a guy calling other people weird who drinks out of a plastic cup with a metal straw. That's fucking weird. Sorry. Drinking with a straw is, as a grown man, is a little bit weird. But, a metal one with a plastic cup, that's really weird.
Well, because we have this Mr. Draft Science, and he's proposing, pressure. He's proposing the Casimir effect.
So I said exactly the opposite. I explicitly said, as my response to him, it has nothing to do with the Casimir effect. All right, this isn't about charge. The fact that one plate has to go positive, one plate has to go negative, that's a function of charge. It has nothing to do with this conversation. Casimir has nothing to do with particle gravity. Nothing.
And I'm not sure exactly all the details because he's a weird kind of guy, but
okay, he doesn't know the details because I'm weird. Now that doesn't make any sense anyway, right? You can know the details by just watching 3 or 4 minutes of the video. You could know the details, and my weirdness wouldn't have anything to do with it. And somehow you're saying that I'm somehow speaking in English you can't understand. I'm using words you don't understand. I bet your son can understand what the fuck I'm saying. So why don't you have him watch my video and see if he thinks he can't understand what I'm saying. He doesn't know how to look up Mach gravity or Lesage and recognize that this has been a 300-year-old theory that a lot of people considered, and they considered it because it does everything very well except for one thing, and it's a thing that your theory doesn't account for either, which is drag. Because how can you have stuff move in the universe when it's tied to every other atom, and it has to drag all the other atoms with it if it moves anywhere? How come it's not dragging the universe with it? If I'm an atom and I'm tied to every other atom in the universe and I decide to go 50 miles an hour that way, how can I go 50 miles an hour that way if I'm tied to every other atom in the universe? Don't I have to drag them with me?
But he's proposing that somehow you remove matter.
So he says it again, all right? I never talk about removing matter. It's just a silly argument. So he never even listened to my argument, never listens to anybody. He just sits there and says, anybody who's suggesting a particle theory, suggesting removing matter. I mean, it's just idiotic. There's absolutely nothing in my theory about having to remove anything. I explicitly stated over and over. I said it more than one time. I repeated it in my response to him that no, you don't remove the matter. You don't remove the energy. The energy comes from everywhere. It just moves in straight lines, and the shadow will take care of everything. You don't need to remove it. The shadow takes care of it. I don't need to remove the sun to create a shadow from a tree. The tree does it.
He says even the matter stays there, but there's more pressure from the outside. I don't know how he conceptualizes.
So again, he doesn't know how I conceptualize something that's been around for 300 years. It's a real thing, a real physical process. It's real physics in every fucking way. That's why they called it Mach gravity. It's because it's real physics, not some sort of not physics. Okay, it does gravity really, really well. So, you pretending you can't possibly comprehend. What are you talking about? Pressure could cause things to move towards each other? Oh, how crazy. No, not crazy. Real. It's real physics. REAL.
That the bottom line is that he doesn't recognize the force of pull in the universe.
Yes, I recognize that every pull, if you look at it, just like pulling the donkey, the rope is pushing on the back of its neck. It's not pulling on the donkey, it's pushing on the donkey.
So if you pull on the donkey, he doesn't recognize that. He says that a donkey is being pushed by the matter that pushes from his tail, not from the rope that's...
Okay, so it pushes from his tail. So again, that's something, I never even said anything like that. So this is worse than straw man, right? I mean, this is just this is just lying, Bill. So you're just a liar like the rest of them, like the fakers and the phonies in their little ivory tower. You're doing the same bullshit. You're just calling everybody a truther and a nutter and a and just disposing of them without paying any attention to what they actually fucking said. I mean, you're just being obvious here. You're a jerk. That's why you won the ass wipe of the week award. Well, okay, shitwit, same difference.
Pulling from his neck. So he doesn't recognize the force of pull. Maybe.
Yes, I don't recognize pull as a force because it's silly. It's a God thing. Gods can pull. The universe can't pull. The universe can hit you with shit. and it can hit you with more shit on one side and less shit on the other side, and therefore you'll go that way with the flow of the shit.
Here on Earth he does, but not out there in the universe. He says, no, the force of pull doesn't exist. The way you produce.
Yeah, there's no pull here on Earth either. It's just pulls are an optical illusion. They're a cognitive disconnect from recognizing that, oh yeah, there's a catch. That's right. I had to hook it. I had to grab it. You know, if you grab it, okay, you could say, okay, now, well, I'm still stuck because the only part of my grab that's really going to move the thing isn't going to be my thumb part. It's going to be the fingers wrapped around it. Yeah, that's going to be the part doing the pushing. My thumb's not, it's not going to come because my thumb's got it. No, it's going to be those fingers going around the back.
Pull is to push. Matter pushing objects together.
Wait, it's all right to say that it exists on Earth, but not.
So, so now he's told his son a lie, right? Where I didn't say anything like that. I didn't say anything about how I think pushes happen on Earth, but they don't happen in space. So he's told his son, basically, he's paraphrasing completely inaccurately. And so now you can have his son pretend to know what I'm talking about. So Bill doesn't know what I'm talking about. His son doesn't know what I'm talking about. Hasn't paid any attention. That's why they don't know. They haven't listened to a minute of my fucking video. Not one fucking minute. All right. And they're going to sit there and argue my theory when they haven't listened to 60 fucking seconds of it. 60 fucking seconds. I mean, what a fucking shitwit. I'll turn the volume up here. Just to make sure it's hearable. I have it sped up a little, to tell you the truth. Like, really poor behavior, Bill. Very poor behavior.
In the universe?
And that's the point. The point is that one of the things quantum will never answer, and Mr. Draft Science will never be able.
Right. So because quantum can't answer it, I can't answer it. You won't listen to the answer. So I'll answer it directly. So you're going to ask a question right here. You're going to say there's something that I can't explain. Well, I'm going to explain it. And will you respond to the fact that I did explain it? The thing you say I can't answer, I will answer. And you're the one who won't answer. You're the one who won't respond to that answer. Chicken shit.
The answer is the force of pull. And that's...
Yes, that's right. I can't answer. I can't explain Tinkerbell, and I can't explain lots of figments of your imagination, okay? I mean, your favorite fantasy girl, I can't, yes, she doesn't exist in the universe, so yes, I can't go find her and show, Yes, I have nothing to do with your fantasies. Your fantasy of pull is your fantasy. Your own son knows. So his own son, I think he might say it in this. He might say it in another video. But he might say it where he actually says, everybody can understand push. It's right there in your face. He said something like it's an intrinsic function. And pull is the more complex function. So his own son knows that. And here he is talking this shit.
The issue. And if you sidestep that, you're just eluding the issue. The issue is
I sidestep what? Something I can't find. I can't find the pull. I can't find anything that's pulling. There's no evidence of anything pulling.
You have to answer the force of pull, and for that you need an elongated mediator. And of course, since they can't dream up of one, they say, no, the force of pull doesn't exist. We do it all through push.
Yes, and the simple argument is push is the easy thing. It's simple. It's the more rudimentary. It wins the Occam's Razor Award. So I won the better award than you won. You've won the Shitwit Award. I've won the Occam's Razor Award for push. Push is dirt simple, all right? And it wouldn't be called mock gravity if it wasn't doing gravity damn well. So you're the one evading the facts.
And he's not the only one. There's a lot of people out there. One of them, a guy I had a discussion with, Tom Van Flandern.
Tom Van Flandern. I don't know how to spell that, so it's probably not going to come out right, so I won't bother looking for... But he probably doesn't have any YouTube videos, and he says he's dead. So, unfortunate.
He's dead now, and I had a telephone conversation, which I recorded, by the way. And
yeah, let's hear it. I'd be interested.
And he proposed push mechanisms for gravity. They called it push gravity.
Right. Well, that I can look up, and I have to. I don't think I've ever put it that simply, but yes, that's probably a good idea to look up. And I'm sure you don't answer any of the simple arguments made by people advocating for such a mechanism, which is it works. It works really good.
And that's the reason for that is that all these people want to do everything with particles, but they say, well, then how can we pull?
Not that we want to, Bill. It's that's where the evidence points. It's the simple mechanism, and it does it perfectly. It does the inverse square law. You have to contrive an inverse square law. Push gravity does it all by itself. Light bulbs do it. Shadows, the shadow I cast is doing it right now. I don't have to explain why there's an inverse square law, because as soon as I create spherical things and a force, bingo.
How can we produce pull with particles? And the only thing they could come up with is the Casimir effect.
So again, more nonsense. I don't need to make pull. Why would I make pull when I'm arguing it's all push? Everything's pushed. Nothing is ever pulled into another thing. Nothing truly attracts. Attraction is just an illusion. Attraction just means there's low pressure. And the thing is, moves into the low pressure by being pushed into it. I mean, you can think a cylinder moves into the empty space. No, it doesn't. It's being pushed into the empty space because there's pressure on the outside. Without the pressure on the outside, it wouldn't move. It can't move to the lower pressure if there isn't a higher pressure. The higher pressure is doing the action, not the low pressure. The high pressure. The high pressure is the pressure. Got to be some way to make this understandable, but I mean, if I push air into a balloon, it's pushing the balloon out. The atmosphere isn't pulling the balloon bigger. Okay, the higher pressure is pushing out.
Casimir effect is famous because
it isn't, number one, it's not all that famous. And number two, again, it has absolutely nothing to do with the conversation. I bet you the guy you talked to on the phone never said Casimir effect. I bet you if I look up push gravity, I'm not going to find anybody arguing for a Casimir effect. This is just such a disgusting straw man. This is worse than that. This is just a duplicitous slander of the argument. I mean, you're just fucking lying, okay, and pretending that you can just tell me what my theory is. So I can call yours the pedophile theory or something. You're just a pedophile, and that's why you're using ropes because you want to tie up little kids. I can just make up some horse shit and say that's what your theory is. My theory is not the Casimir effect, fuckhead. How many fucking times do I have to say that explicitly? It has nothing the fuck to do with the Casimir effect. That's a charge effect, idiot. It's a different fucking subject, shithead. Oh.
Mr. Casimir suggested remove matter between two objects and they're pushed together.
That's not even what they suggest. So again, that's more horse shit about removing matter. They're actually, the point is that the plates, neutral plates have to acquire a disposition. One has to go positive, one has to go negative, and that's the effect. They can't just stay neutral, all right? Because they're all going to end up having to be charged in the sense there's always going to be a proton heavy side and an electron heavy side. And it happens with all atoms because no atom stays perfectly neutral, ever. But anyway, not the subject.
Essentially the mechanism.
So again, essentially the mechanisms of just lying about people to your own son. Here you are telling your son lies, okay, and letting him opine on the lies you've told. And they're just fucking lies.
Talk about the flat Earth version of gravity, which I think.
Oh, we have a sixth one. Okay, come on.
Way better one now.
All right, so now they bring up flat Earth. So this is it's something called, mock gravity, Lesage. These are theories like flat Earth theory, which clearly is just like crop circles or something. It's just intended to troll idiots. All right, it has no validity as anything called science or in any effort to be science. And here he is just slandering people, throwing them in that category. So I should just assume you have just a jackass, wanker's motives, Bill. You're just doing this shit to joke and goof on people. You don't have any sincere intent. You don't really believe any of this horse shit you're talking. It's all just some crappy little carnival thing you and your lying son are involving yourself in. You've taught your son to be a little lying carnival actor, who's pretending to be a scientist, pretending to give a shit about the truth, pretending to think you know something about what rational science is. You're a liar, Bill. A fucking liar. Yeah. All right. a fucking cowardice liar. Of course, they always come together, lying and being a fucking coward. Cunt. Skanky. Cunt. All right, so enough of that. I mean, like I said, I say in the video, hey, these are really great conversations with Bill and his kid, and it's really nice, and this is what people should be doing. But they only should be doing it when he's doing the honest part, where he isn't lying about people. So I mean, that's the fraud here, is that he's going to mix lying with the truthing. And it's just the way the propagandists play the game. They pretend like, look, I have integrity. I tell the truth about things. And then I lie. Okay, when it's to my convenience. I pay absolutely no attention, basically slander another person's argument, botch it all to fucking hell, take a piss on it. Just fuck you for that, Bill. Fuck you. Get what you deserve, which is maligned and trolled. Stupid son of a bitch. So anyway, I've watched a few more of these. I mean, he posted a whole bunch of them all at once, which really sucked. Hour-long videos. So there's a picture with him with the kid. And again, why be nice to people? You be nice, you say some nice things. Yeah, I don't agree with rope theory, but I think Bill's a nice guy. I think he makes some pretty good arguments. I think it's swell him and his kid have this relationship, blah, 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 blah. And what does the fucking cunt do? He sits there and lies about me. Lies about the arguments I made that he never even listened to. I mean, just puts fucking shitty words in my mouth and then calls me a shit talker. I mean, what a fuck. Okay, so enjoy your award. I hope it gives you a blight of some kind. An anal wart or sore of some kind, is you deserve it, shithead. All right, so that should be enough of Bill, the cunt. All right, see what the commenters are doing, then I'll do comments. Oh, Tyler, I got to share with a friend some of a lot of your points made today and think he got it. It's a pleasure to be watching tonight. Thanks. Oh, can't complain about that. It's a pretty sober comment. Thank you. Shitwit. Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? Shitwit award. Why did David Benatar? Oh, you're just such a cunt. Write a book about supposed seconds. Who cares? It's not the subject of this channel. Fuck you, asshole. I mean, it's not that complicated. It's draft fucking science, shithead. This isn't the Benatar show. It's just so dumb. Like I'm supposed to. Every human being is supposed to be perfect. So I could ask, why did Jack Kevorkian paint paintings with heads on platters? I don't think that was really very good PR. So he probably shouldn't have gone there. But he did. So what? That's what he liked to paint. Okay, so fine. Nobody's perfect, shithead. There's the answer to your question, you dumbass. He's obviously a man with a small penis who, again, has to blame women because he has a small penis. I mean, quite obviously. Jeez. All right. Let's see what this crap is. I'm sure it'll be crap. I just hate this mercy talk. I don't know what that means. I see the Q and overview playlist equals mercy. That means. Anyway, he posted a link to a Sean Carroll video, which really is pretty hideous. So maybe I'll play some of that. Defending. I don't know whether it was in the Joe Rogan thing that I saw or whether it was some other Joe Rogan interview. I don't remember what shirt he was wearing, so I can't tell. But it was posted like August 1st, so that was around when the Sean Carroll Joe Rogan thing happens. I don't know. But anyway, so it might have been the end when I wasn't listening anymore, when I already had way too much of both of them. Don Fermilab. I don't know who Don Fermilab is. I don't think there is such a person. Has a short video about gravitational lensing. Wow, how exciting. Nice picture. It looks like I'm looking into a big tube and the galaxies are projecting on the inside of the tube. Well, whatever. I don't know if we'll rush out and look at that or not. Oh, I think these were spammed comments. Yeah, these are the spam ones in the spam folder. So I just thought I would read some of these. So some of these are 2 months old. I'm not going to bother with that. All right, now on to published comments. All right. Do you eat farts? Yeah, that's really, boy, you sure got me on that one. Definitely proving your IQ is so much higher than mine. Boy, you ask such interesting questions. I don't think so. I mean, really, who's going to be impressed by that? I would leave it on the board, but I mean, I already talk foul enough. We don't need, somebody else adding gratuitous farts and shit, or actual shit. Really have shit in the title. We don't need anything else. But yeah, just what? I mean, how do they feel like? Oh, well, I'm going to be, somehow that's going to get to me in some way. It only gets to me in the sense that I realize, oh man, I really am king of this planet because they all really are idiots. I mean, I could go ahead and drink a lot of lead paint. I'd still be way ahead of these fuckers. Gary, how do you respond to the accusation that you are a silly bitch? So again, just more, wow, that really got me somehow. Ooh, wow, I'm totally overwhelmed by your intellectual prowess. Ooh, you have such a big intellectual dick, and you just really whapped me with it there. No, totally unimpressed. Lame as fuck. You can't just type a sentence or two where you're going to overwhelm me with your knowledge. This is your knowledge of the world. This is how you demonstrate you have some perspective that somebody should pay any attention to. Come on. Pathetic. Golden ratio is an important number. No, it isn't. It really isn't important in any sense. Yes, spirals have a proportion, okay? And the number could be any number. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be some number. So this is not miraculous in any way whatsoever. It's just girly, little baby glittery thing. You're just going shiny, shiny, diamond, diamond. And you're saying diamonds are important. No, they're really not. Emeralds are important. Yeah, no, they're really not. So it's just baby talk. All right, now we're back to the absolute zero shit. So yes, lame, lame, lame. That's all there are for comments. Just lame shit. God, the people are so lame. So pathetically lame. All right, let's see. I don't even know what this question here. Is there anything worth saving? I don't know what the hell that could possibly mean. No, if counting money are physicals. No, if counting money are physicals. Wow. No, if counting money are physicals. I just, what the fuck. There is no, so I guess he retracted some sort of comment that was somehow somebody else had something to say to or something. I just don't understand how you people can type this kind of crap. I enjoy novelty. So what? Why should I care? That's like saying you like to, you know, I don't know, do blowjobs on clitorises or something. I don't know. You could come up with any kind of little silly thing, and I say, okay, fine, you enjoy that. Who cares? Why should I care? I think novelty is very uninteresting. Like, it's just doesn't. What if this lighter was a different shape and a different color? Oh, it's so. Yeah, no, it doesn't. I just want to light the cigarette. There's little lines on this filter, a Canadian thing. It's a little novelty. Yeah, no interest to me. I couldn't give a fucking shit about having little lines printed on the filter. So if you're going to just talk shit, okay, I mean, really, this is not the channel for you. So, I mean, I see you got another fucking shit comment here. I like experiencing things that make me think, wow. I don't care. It has nothing to do with physics. It's not an argument. If you can't make an argument of some kind or ask a rational question of some kind, don't type anything. So if you can't ask a rational question or make a relevant comment, do not type. What is this people? For sure, those lectures, period. I mean, why people, why? What are you doing here? I am crap at grammar or literacy in general. And I can say this is just glaring rubbish. I mean, why are you typing this so poorly? Learnt how world and people are apart, period. And I can approximate someone trying to change things to better. Well, what is this? Stop typing. Go somewhere else. I mean, really, fuck this. All right. Sorry, I don't know. Wow. Amazing. Just say sorry. Don't bother with the I don't know, because I don't know what that could possibly mean. You don't know that this is tripe, that this is trivial shit that you're typing? You don't realize? I have to explain it to you? Fuck. Apricot. Ha ha ha. Okay, well, I guess I'll block that, right? You want to get blocked? You could just answer the question. Do you want to be blocked? Gary, have you ever heard of the... Again, I keep saying I'm not here to debunk every fucking stupid, idiotic thing invented by any asshole on planet Earth. I'm here to contrast my theory against conventional physics. How many fucking times do I fucking have to say that? God damn, you people are fucking so... Shitwit award to you, too. Jesus. Tehran belt. Apparently, it's remnants of a comet that struck us 12,000 years ago. I don't think that happened. 12,000 years ago, we were struck by a comet that's left remnants? No fucking chance. A belt we pass through twice a year. I felt better before I heard of it. Sorry, it's crap. I mean, really, I don't know what to say again. It's just such rubbish. We pass through some belt twice a year that doesn't have much in it, quite obviously, because obviously we would know, hey, we're heading for the belt where this stuff will hit us. No. You're more likely to be hit by one of the wrenches we left in space. whatever. Again, it's just so far off the subject. Like I said, I mean, it's barely talking physics. I mean, it's just so far off the subject. Physics is about the laws of physics, not about, the fact that if an asteroid did hit the Earth, that it would shoot some particles into space, and those particles might lose their momentum over time and end up, stuck out there. But even that isn't that likely. I mean, if they have enough velocity to escape the Earth's gravity, well, they could have just enough. And then they'd just be slowed down just enough, and they slow down and stop right outside of the Earth's gravity, and then they just stay there. But then we're moving into them, and they're not moving all that fast then. So at least they're not heading for us at 20,000 miles a second or something. So they don't have a bunch of extra momentum. And we know that most of the small things just burn up anyway. But anyway, whatever. It's not close enough. It's not the right kind of physics. I'm doing the comparing relativity and quantum mechanics to my theory. I'm not doing this little superfluous la-la physics. If you would be more open, whatever, I fuck you. I'm not here to do that. You would realize the light for orca cause. The light for the life river cause. No, I don't think I would. Like your first hangout, take care, unsubbed. Oh, thank God. I'll block you just to make sure. Fuck off. Carpet Twizzler. No, with 2 O's. Okay, well then shut the fuck up. Unless you can do something rational, something logical, something engaging, something that will provoke intelligent conversation. Shit, people. It's amazing. So again, I guess there's a good enough time to say, oh, look, this room, I would like there to be somebody else, like, Bill Gaede's son. I'd like, if he wants to do a live room, and show up and defend his father's rude and obnoxious behavior of slandering people by putting crappy words in their mouth. So anyway, just email me at ds@draftphysics.com if you would be interested in engaging in live conversation to either defend conventional physics or in some way show how my physics is incompatible with any experiment that's been performed that has any real integrity. And if you want to explain, like you have a really great explanation for how the inverted gravity lens, the lens that bends the light too much and too little, is doing gravitational lensing. You want to explain that? Then yes, I'll let you in the room and you can explain it to me. No, just people. All right, so maybe we'll do some Sean Carroll. We could always do some David D. Hilster, but I don't want to do too much shit-witting in one day. I'll be giving away way too many awards, and they're not free. Got to pay for these awards. Well, I really don't. They are free. I just pulled them out of my ass. Let's see. What is space? That ain't it. Lecture. No, that ain't it. Must be here. No, that's Bill again. Wrong guy. Relativity, understanding space-time. That's not it. Double slit. That ain't it. It should say, what the hell? It had to be here. I had the video loaded. How could it not be here? Oh, I know. It might be at the other end. It might have opened the tab. down here. Yeah, there it is. All right, so I watched the first 6 minutes, and so it started off with the simple phrase, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't understand quantum mechanics. And Sean Carroll's saying, I think that's just bullshit because, yeah, it's totally understandable. You know, what's wrong? I mean, so everything is half a wave and not a wave. Everything's a particle and it's an antiparticle. Everything's virtual things and unvirtual things. And what's so complicated? That's virtual is perfectly logical, isn't it? No, it isn't. So just continue on. So he's just making rational. My new book basically says, no, quantum mechanics is perfectly understandable. The universe is randomy pandomy, and there's a whole bunch of little dimensiony wensionies. And so, yes, and we're doing a different thing in every single universe, and la 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 la. What's so hard to understand? You can understand the three bears, can't you? You can't believe it, but you can understand it.
And there's a wave function, and they're inventing quantum mechanics, and we're still arguing about it to this day.
All right, so yeah, so he was talking about the history of it, how the first thing was the ultraviolet crisis or whatever, and then the second answer they needed was strong force or something. I don't know, but just bullshit history, bullshit that anything was proven by anything, that they did anything that mattered. It's all just a stupid, idiotic. You have 5 people together and you say, let's do the 5-minute detective thing and solve a crime. And you get 5 different opinions of how it happened and who did it. And you just basically say, well, which one of these is best? And then you vote on it. And okay, yours wins. And then for the rest of forever, this is the theory of reality. And it's just a weak, untested, unevidenced pile of crap that they keep fudging reality to make work. So there's another video here that says Sean Carroll, Dark Matter. So I'll probably have to listen to that one. He's wearing a white shirt, so that was a different Joe Rogan interview. But I mean, yeah, there's no justification for dark matter. It's just God of the Gap's made up fudge. We'll fix our broken theory with a invisible man pile of crap.
Well, it's such a difficult concept to wrap your head around that it's been distorted, right?
No, it's not distorted. As he just stated, every physicist has a different version of what they think quantum mechanics is. They can't even define this stupid theory. And again, people think it's a particle theory when no, nothing is a particle. Everything is some sort of momentum perturbation, for fuck's sake. It's an ether theory, for fuck's sake.
Especially
absolutely.
The woo merchants.
I have a fun part in my book. I list like 20 titles that came up in Amazon when you type the word quantum in.
Yeah, that's right. And you think it's funny. You think it's funny that the word has no serious meaning. It's a cartoon word that you've just sold to anyone can use it. And you don't in any way take your physics seriously enough to say we have to preserve the integrity of this word and can't allow people to be saying something like a quantum gas in the title of a fucking paper that gets published in a legitimate journal. No legitimate journal should ever say it's okay to use the word quantum gas. There's no fucking such thing as a fucking quantum gas. It's just bullshit.
So there's like quantum love, quantum power, quantum yoga, quantum healing.
Yes, it's funny. Ha 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 ha. And then you're going to say that people should take it seriously and they can't understand it. And physics isn't a laughing stock. Physics isn't Bozo the fucking clown. And you're just pointing out how exactly that's all your physics is. It's completely been bastardized by fucking cartoon characters. You've turned it into absolute shit. You have, fuckers. You.
Quantum politics, quantum theology, it's like used for every crazy bit of nonsense.
Right, because you have
hello, freak bitches.
You never
It was the initial discovery that led to the conclusion that dark matter is the preeminent mass of the universe. What percentage of the mass is it?
Well, sorry, let me just finish that. You might wonder if you can Google
even deep, even
dark
if it's
matter detectors.
100 feet underground.
It's in a deep mine.
What
right?
the
That
hell
seems so
happened?
counterintuitive.
Yeah,
Like you-
Alright.
how do you mitigate that?
How did that happen?
Write more books, have more podcasts, keep talking, right? Like, you'll never get rid of it entirely. There, as you may have heard, there are people who still believe the Earth is flat.
Oh, I have heard.
so again, it's just it's so not funny, and there really aren't people who believe it, in any kind of real sense. The only people who believe it are people who don't are retarded. I mean, they really are functionally retarded. So there's people trying to goof on people, and there's people who get goofed on. But it's really just, they should be arrested for harassing retards.
So you're never going to completely get rid of the wrong ideas, but you can get the right ideas out there.
Right, and there are no right ideas of quantum mechanics. That's the whole fucking problem. You don't have a single consistent theme to any of this mush. You're all arguing for a different freaking reality. There's no consistency between any of it. It's all just versions and versions that don't have anything to do with each other. Copenhagen and many worlds have nothing to do with each other. They're completely upside down, different, opposite, whatever. They're they're not in similar dimensions. They don't have similar dimensionality.
Yeah. Do you think that it's possible that, this concept was created and invented somewhere around the 1900s? Is it possible that another theory that's just as revolutionary is being developed right now?
Right, and it doesn't require one to be revolutionary. What it requires for physics is that they take ideas seriously and they don't just throw stuff away entirely. They always say, hey, if something does 90% of something and it has 10% of problems, well, maybe those 10% can be worked out. And we shouldn't be throwing it in the garbage can. So they should have enough reasoning skills to know that if there are other ways to explain gravity, they can't just say we're going to pick one winner and that's it. Especially when the evidence is so weak. Again, all fucking Einstein had was the lousy Eddington experiment. Without that, his theory was dead in the water because there was nothing proving it. Nothing. And the Eddington experiment didn't even prove it. It proved one tiny little piece. And again, it wasn't a proof. For fuck's sake. I mean, this is so bad.
And through things like the Large Hadron Collider, and it's
right, the stuff that they're cementing their bad theory with. So they're using a bunch of circular logic with these highly expensive, complex machines to say that their underlying theory is correct when no one could ever test it because nobody could ever analyze the data because nobody could ever. There's no way to make an analysis of it because it's completely dependent on them being true believers. If you're not true believers, there's no data. The data is incomprehensible. You have to be a believer.
Search for understanding the elementary particles of the universe. Is it possible that we could develop a new theory? And are there any that
again, it's going to be a simpler one, right? That would be the argument. And they've already dissed all the simpler theories. Push-pull. It's always going to come down to the simple argument. I mean, they've chosen badly. They got plus and minus. They put them on the wrong places. Push-pull, wave-particle. They've chosen badly. Every time they had a 50-50 chance of getting the right answer, they got the wrong answer. Galaxies are contracting. No, galaxies are expanding. I mean, they can't, to save their life, get a right answer. Every time they have a 50-50 chance, they blow it.
are being contemplated right now?
So it's absolutely possible. That was what Einstein tried his best to do, right? He thought that he could do better than quantum mechanics, and he did not succeed.
Yes, because he'd already broken physics by inventing God-of-the-gap answers for gravity. If he would have recognized his gravity theory was a pile of crap, then you would have realized that, oh, I have to come up with something better. Oh, yeah, particle pressure. Yeah, atoms pressure. Big universe pressure. Little universe pressure. Well, yeah, that makes perfectly good sense. Everything's being pushed into little balls. Nothing's being pulled into little balls. Of course, of course, of course. I mean, it's so fucking obvious. All right, let's see what we got here. You do have a lot of open tabs. Yes, I really do. You really get away with it. You know, Linux is just letting me get away with it. So I have way too many. So I know I'm pushing my luck, but it doesn't crash. It's working. So I'm in this room doing this shit, and it's still working. Also, hi. Hope you're doing well. Oh, I'm tolerable. I'm never doing well, obviously. I live on a planet full of fucking imbeciles. I've discovered the Holy Grail, free energy, whatever, all the good stuff. I've discovered it. I'm sitting there just pointing at it. Well, it's right there. Look, 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 look. And you can't get these idiots to look at it. It's like talking to fucking parakeets or something. They're just, what road is this? What road is this? What road is this? I mean, they're making sounds like they're human. They pretend like they can talk about something rational, like they type words, and some of them are actually spelled correctly, and they're sort of in this sentence structure sometimes. But it's all just bird talk. It just doesn't mean anything. It's all shit. Clever, novel ideas drive physics. Oh, that's just such a crock of shit. I should just block you right there. I mean, it's just such a crock of shit. I mean, there's nothing clever about inventing an invisible man solution. Dark matter is just invisible man glue. Oh, okay, our math doesn't work. How do we fix it? Well, let's make a special force that only does the thing we need more of, and it doesn't do anything else. Okay, so it just makes gravity, but it doesn't have any other consequence in the universe. It just makes some extra gravity. And yes, there's no evidence anything like that could possibly exist, but let's just make it up. And then our math works. Oh, okay, let's do that. And let's pretend it's spread in just certain places where we want it to be. And there'll be no physics that describe why it would be in those particular locations. It just magically happens to be there. By magic. That's not clever, novel ideas drive physics. That's fucking crap. Okay? Just absolute fucking crap. I'm intellectually inferior to you. Well, yeah, I mean, you're in my opinion, you're intellectually inferior to half of me. Okay? You're intellectually inferior to my fucking toes or the fucking toenails. If you can say something as idiotic as clever, novel ideas drive physics. I'm sorry, I can't add anything to the conversation. Well, you can certainly take a giant shit right there. You just took a giant fucking shit right there. Clever, novel ideas drive physics. You stated as if this is a fact, as if these people are all doing their best and they're putting their big giant brains to work and they're blah, 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 blah. No, they're preaching a fucking religion. You call religion a clever, novel idea? You think religions are clever, novel ideas? You can't explain something, so you blame a god and you create heavens and hells and all kinds of magical bullshit. You think that's being clever? I think that's being dumb as fuck. It's just being a liar. All right, amend him. Have you ever thought about reaching out to David Benatar? Oh, you're just, okay, I'll block you. I mean, I asked you not to do this, and here you are doing it. So, fuck you. I'm done with you. I have, yes, other people have mentioned me to him. He clearly is not interested. Fuckhead. Okay, nothing I can do about that. David Benatar is an isolationist. He picks his places to open his mouth. That's his business. And again, it's not the fucking subject of this fucking channel, you fucking asshole. I mean, it's just amazing. You know, they harass me on the other channel because they don't want to hear the physics. You know, I get on this channel and they want to just drag that shit into here. They're just amazingly fucked-hearted. Oh, people. I mean, god damn it. How can you people be so fucking dysfunctional? You know, it's amazing. You watch people, they got jobs and they got money and they can afford cars and houses. They can do all this stuff. And you're saying, these people, how are these fucking imbeciles doing that? They're imbeciles, for fuck's sake. All right, back to the video.
The big difference is that when real quantum mechanics...
Sorry, I'm speeding him up because this is a little bit tedious. Yeah, I'll only do 125. If I do faster, then somebody will complain, I couldn't hear him, you're cheating.
was developed between 1900 and 1927, at every step it was because there was some dramatic disagreement between the theory and the data. And right now...
you know, and more horseshit, right? I mean, the data is always in some strange form, okay? It's not like clear data. It's data that's very ambiguous. So let's understand that. Again, just like the lensing experiment, just like Eddington's data. Very, very marginal data. And they always have to just say proof or not proof. They can never say, not really good evidence, weak evidence. They can never say those words. So they either force it to be complete proof or they force it to be complete rubbish. It's like you see that with Michelson-Morley. You know, we've proved there's no ether. You know, no, you didn't prove it with this one experiment. Especially when the logic of the experiment itself, as I pointed out, using half-silvered mirrors, is impossible. I mean, it's just theoretically can't be doing what they're saying it's doing. It's theoretically non-functional. It can't function. The device can't possibly be functioning the way they think it is. So it's like me saying a washing machine sends my clothes to Pluto, okay, and then agitates them and sends them back to Earth again. I mean, I can say that's what it does, but there's no theoretical reasoning that makes that possible. There's no known mechanism that makes that possible.
Our theories are good enough that they fit the data really, really well.
So again, they don't fit any kind of data. Okay, the data is weak, marginal, hairs splitting light kind of bullshit. Little tiny fragments of data, and they keep talking as if there's this mass of evidence. There's no mass of evidence.
Trying to make, I and others are proposing new ideas to try to understand, you know, how space-time emerges.
Right. So they're proposing new wacky bullshit where we can have, we can make something colder than absolute zero. This is a published paper. Physics is comfortable with this idea that, no, we can make negative energy. We can take all the energy out and go below all the energy out. I mean, it should be a non-starter. It should get the paper shoved right into the garbage can. But no, that's the stuff they all sit there and applaud. Oh yeah, the data says so. They don't have a thermometer. They don't have any data. They have a theory. And because their theory doesn't put rational bounds on what they can imagine, they don't realize that you can't do that. Just like they can't realize that you can't make an infinite gravity well, that the energy for gravity does have a finite end. You can take all the pressure away, and that's all there is. All the pressure's gone. You can't take it. You can't do something unpressure. You can only remove the pressure. You can't make unpressure, but they can, because they don't know that, no, there's a finite limit to how deep the well can be.
In quantum mechanics and things like that. And you can try to do better than quantum mechanics, but it's all just on pure principle, right? On pure like coherence and beauty and elegance because we have.
Oh, bullshit. It's none of that stuff. Again, it's just more wishful thinking. It's just a propagandist religion. So you're just saying that, oh, you know, it's so obvious that we're spiritual beings. It's so intuitively real. We all have this sense of our spirituality and our connectedness. And we're all just feeling how the earth wants us to be happy, or we've offended it and it wants to kill us. And we can just feel, I mean, this is just fucking religion.
Attitude fits the data fine, and it's so much harder to make progress when you're just trying to do.
Mock gravity fits the data perfectly. It does gravity perfect. Now, it has a little bit of problem when you start moving stuff through empty space, but again, it's not really a problem because you have a bunch of assumptions about what velocity is. You think that this lighter, when it's moving 200 million miles a second, is exactly the same as the lighter that's moving no miles a second. And rationally, one might argue, no, the lighter is different. The space isn't different around the lighter. The lighter is different. Fuck. That's what the data says.
In your brain rather than doing it by data.
So as for right now, there's nothing else.
So more of this gross propaganda. They just say the word data or information or some other bullshit word. And the implication is that we have volumes of this data. We have so much facts. We have DNA and we have fingerprints and we have videotape. And we have audio tapes and we have everything. And they have shit. They you know, their videotape is, you know, it's like got 6 pixels. Okay, it's like a squares, you know, and the squares jiggle a little, and they're going, O.J. Simpson. No, that's 6 pixels. You can't possibly say that's O.J. Simpson, for fuck's sake. It's 6 pixels. Yes, I think O.J. did it, but that's not good enough evidence.
Being contemplated.
No,
That's
again,
pretty
it
unique.
is being contemplated. Nothing promising. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing
emergent.
Like there are people who think they can do better. There is no one who agrees that someone else is doing better. Right?
Yes, well, there's no public display of this conflict between these ideas in any real sense. So you're all pussies, afraid to defend your crap against somebody who can smell it.
Are there any standout theories that people have sort of?
I think
Oh, so he's just begging him to say string theory. He's just, you can just see Joe's, I was trying to get you to say string theory. I was really trying to get you to say it, or quantum gravity, or that other thing, whatever it is, fieldy thingy. Everything's a field. Anti-real, anti-physics. There must be an anti-physics, you know. There's an anti-everything. There's an anti-you. It just hasn't shown up. But there is one theoretically. By their religion. God, it's just so bad. Oh, hilarious. Ah, the lovely Jenna. I like girls who swear a little. Hate when they start waxing lyrical about elegance, beauty, etc. Puke. Yes, it really is disgusting. You know, it's just, this silver lining to the puke bucket is just disgusting. How can they, they just, they're not paying any attention at all. Oh, damn. Because it's not happening to them. Everything's fine with me. I'm getting $279,000 a year, and I have my summer place in the Hamptons and blah 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 blah. So all this stuff is wrong. Oh, something's wrong in the world. Oh, physics isn't quite right. Oh, I couldn't give a shit because I'm doing fine.
Placing quantum mechanics or even improving quantum mechanics is because there's no guidance whatsoever from experiments. There's not even a sort of leading.
So again, that's just so stupid. Yes, there's a ton of guidance. So again, the more crap, right? I mean, like mock gravity, it fits everything for the gravity model. Okay, so for quantum mechanics, you have this problem, like overtly, you know, virtual photon can't be the right answer. So there's a kind of guidance in the sense that, you know, that's an incomplete solution. So regardless of what Bohr said about quantum mechanics is a complete theory, clearly it's not very complete when you have some glaring goofball in there called a virtual something. So that's a big problem. But there's lots of guidance regarding the fact that experiments happen and they have, you know, just physically, you can understand that if a hole is getting smaller, you're getting some guidance to understand that, well, that sort of means that the likelihood of the photon going near the surface would increase. So if I make the hole smaller, more volume inside the hole will be close to a surface. That's called guidance. That can guide you to a proper answer.
Thing. And in fact, I don't think it's the right way to go. I think that given right now, given the fact that we have quantum mechanics and yet don't quite understand it, our job should be to understand.
Okay, so again, so he's saying that Feynman is wrong to say we don't understand it. And he says, my book sort of explains how we do understand it. And now he just says, I don't understand it. So really, just complete bullshit.
Saying what we got.
What has come out of the Large Hadron Collider? I know.
Oh, okay, some more. Well, Sean Carroll is probably going to give the right answer, which is not much. We basically spent $47 billion for a big glider. Tang. We got some tang out of it. They didn't even get tang out of the fucking collider. Like, you know, even going to the moon, you could say, I think going to the moon was just necessary. We needed to do it because it needed to get done. But yeah, we didn't get much out of it. You know, tang. Yeah. But Hadron didn't even give us tang.
Oh, that there was some discussion as to whether or not they found the Higgs. Is it boson or boson?
I say boson, but
how could somebody even? Oh, I lit the filter. Saying, boy, this is a really bad cigarette. I used to do this shit all the time. Yeah, I know. Okay, I shouldn't make such admissions because that's sort of saying he likes the wrong end of cigarettes. Hey, he's pretty fucking retarded. But yeah, I did do that a lot. Yeah, that's much better, but the filter's fried. Ugh. Ew.
Boson, like with a Z?
So again, amazing. Who hasn't only heard the word boson? I've never even heard it called anything else but a boson. I've never heard anybody ever call it anything other than a boson. I can't believe that Joe Rogan never heard the word boson. He's talked to every one of these talking head physics pukes over the last 5 years, and he doesn't know how to pronounce boson. Unbelievable rubbish.
it's pronounced with a Z, but it's spelled pronounced. B-O-S-O-N.
Oh, it is it's pronounced, because I only read it. I never.
Yeah, physicists say boson.
Boson.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Higgs boson.
So he only reads it. So again, he's talked to everyone, and he's never heard the word boson. Amazing. Why is he asking the question, you would wonder? He's never heard a physics person mention the word boson in one of these conversations, and yet he's bringing it up as a subject. You'd wonder why. Why are you doing that, Joe? It's obviously not something very important if you've never heard it come out of somebody's mouth in hours of conversation about physics.
There was some discussion that they had absolutely proven its existence, but then there was also some debate about that.
So it's actually a very bittersweet story, the Large Hadron Collider.
Damn,
Because,
I hate a
yeah,
bittersweet
I know.
story.
Well, yeah, life doesn't promise you a rose garden. We found the Higgs boson fairly quickly after getting the Large Hadron Collider up to speed. We found it in 2012. Read that in my other book, The Particle at the End of the Universe. But we didn't find anything else. So did we find the Higgs boson? Yes. It is crisp.
Yes, and you found out that your symmetry shit is bullshit. You found out your string theory is dead in the water. So you did find out some things like, oh yeah, this other crap didn't predict crap accurately, so that doesn't have any hope. But yeah, this boson, this stupid Higgs boson thing is this little tiny, you put more energy into the system and you expect there to be some kind of reaction. Duh. And so there's a reaction, but it doesn't mean there's anything called a Higgs boson. It's just bullshit.
Still clear that we found a particle, and that particle is exactly what we predicted.
So, well, get this straight. It has nothing to do with a particle. Okay, so when he says particle, he means a perturbation. We found a perturbation. There's no particles involved in their particle physics. And obviously, when you find one of these things, that means you also found the anti-particle. So there's an anti-Higgs out there. Ooh.
Years before the Higgs boson would look like. It talks to the other particles in the same way, it has the right mass, it has the same lifetime, and all those things. But there's a puzzle.
Lifetime means it has no life at all. It means this thing never exists in reality for more than a 10 to the minus 38th of a second or something. It has no life at all. It doesn't exist. It's a piece of crap. Okay, it's like you have a car accident and a bunch of snot flies out of your nose, and the snot flies through the air. It's not real stuff anymore, right? It was just in your nose. It was this goop, and now it's in some weird form, and then it'll splat somewhere and be something entirely different. It'll look like Richard Nixon or something. But while it's in the air, it's just it's not anything really. So it was something when it was in your nose, and it was something when it hits the street sign, but it's sort of nothing when it's flying through the air. And this, they think, is, we've discovered what the universe is made out of. No, you haven't discovered shit. Delusional, fucktarded, weak evidenced bullshit. This is all just made up crap. It's etch-a-sketch drawing. I mean, this it's a cheap, crappy version of reality.
So this is what we have. We don't have blatant
a very expensive, cheap version.
disagreement between theory and experiment. What we have are puzzles, right? What we have are mismatches between our informal expectation and what reality is doing. So in one way...
So let's understand by what reality is doing, they're not talking about reality. They're talking about some special circumstance where they presumably hurl a proton at another proton in a head-on collision and then make a bunch of assumptions about how protons work by looking at the crap, by looking at the snot on the signs. They decide what happened. They're reading tea leaves. That's all this is. They're reading tea leaves. This is witch doctoring. This is voodoo. This doesn't have anything to do with being a scientist. This has to do with make up the silliest possible mumbo jumbo about how the universe works. And so just throw some bones in a bowl and then shake them up and say, I see the truth. No, you see what you want to see. And that's all they're doing. They're seeing what they want to see. It's glaringly obvious. All right. Okay, no progress from the commenters. Very good. At least you're consistently feeble.
So there's a number, which is the mass of the Higgs boson. We measured it, okay? 130 some times the mass of the proton.
130 something times the mass of the proton. So this Higgs thing is giant then. And there's supposed to be a whole field of them, right? So it's supposed to be the Higgs field, right? Now, get real. So something that's 138 times or whatever the size of something else, and the something else was something discovered a long time ago because it's such a significant thing that you can't just sweep it under the rug. Like the proton is real enough. And they think this Higgsy thing is so what? It's 133 times more massive than a proton, and yet we can't just see it. We can't interact with it. We have to spend billions of dollars to find it. Doesn't that on its face sound like horse shit? You see, they associate everything, mass, with how much energy it takes to move something. And the energy it takes to move something has to do with how it's connected to other things. It doesn't have a damn thing to do with its mass. mass is irrelevant when things are magnetically interacting. So if I have two magnets, you sort of know that if I push the magnets are stuck together, and I glue one of the magnets to the desk, and then I try to lift the top magnet, it'll seem like it weighs a ton. It'll like, I'll put a scale on it, and it'll be 10 pounds. It's a little tiny magnet. It can't be, how's it 10 pounds? That's what they're doing here. So when he says how heavy this thing is, it doesn't have anything to about how heavy anything is. It has to do with how much energy it takes to pull it off of something else that it's stuck to.
But there's a guess as to what the mass should have been. If nature were natural, nature is natural, but if our notion of nature worked out the way it was, what should the mass of the Higgs boson be?
Just even the assumption that there is this thing, like I said, it's just such a pile of shit. There's no room for it in the atom, frankly. There's no place to put this Higgs thingy. It's just crap.
And it's literally a quadrillion times bigger than what it actually is. Okay?
What's a quadrillion?
10 to the 15.
Oh, okay.
And so it's 10 to the 15 bigger, and yet we can't see it. We didn't even know it existed. Chemists didn't even have to account for it. A chemist could do all kinds of work and make all kinds of things happen and do all kinds of fun stuff, and he didn't even have to know the fucking thing existed. Fuck this shit.
Yeah, I'm not making this up. You can Google it.
Yeah, no. You all are making it up. You're all just living a little fake Jesus word, and all you're doing is telling Jesus' story. Oh, Jesus was so cool. You would tell people about the birds and how they didn't need to have refrigerators, and God took care of them, and he's just trying. And then, and then the next day he would tell somebody, if you're a rich man, you can't get into heaven, but with God, all things are possible. So you can't, but all things are possible. So yeah. Well, okay, Jesus was a little bit duality. He's a little wavy and then particle-y, and he would say one thing one day and then he'd say something else the other day, like don't cast the first stone, and then he'd say, well, if you got a divorce, I'm going to sentence you. You're going to fucking hell, cunt. Blah 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 blah.
The mass of the Higgs boson should be enormously bigger by sort of what our intuitive feelings about quantum mechanics and quantum field theory say.
Well, I thought it was a perfect prediction, and all of a sudden now, it's not a perfect prediction. It was like a 1 gigabillionths off. It was a billion times a gigabyte wrong, but that's close enough to right. See, I mean, any answer we got, we would have said bingo. It could have been in any range, really. It could have been 1 or 10 million, and it wouldn't have mattered what number it was. We would have said, that's the number on my lottery ticket. I predicted it. Obvious horseshit.
It's a known problem. It's been known for a long time, called the hierarchy problem. And so even before we discovered the Higgs, we knew it wasn't that heavy. We knew it was much, much lighter than what it should be. So the hierarchy problem was a known thing. And people said, how could it be true? Well, you have to change the theory a little bit.
Right. You put some dark matter in it. So again, just more, yes, it doesn't really make sense. And so we fix it with bullshit. We'll just change the numbers. It's not working, change the numbers. This is obviously not how you do fucking things called science. Okay, well, we know OJ's guilty, so let's plant gloves, and then we'll plant knives, and we'll go to his hotel room and cut his fingers. That's all they're saying. We'll just make up evidence. Fuck it. Yes, the real evidence sucks, so we'll just make up some fake evidence. Oh, shit. Still nothing for the idiots. Okay.
But like add some new particles or predict some new features of physics going on. And many, many people, myself included, were very optimistic that the Large Hadron Collider would find evidence for what was going on, would find more particles than just the Higgs boson. It's found nothing else. Maybe it would find supersymmetry or extra dimensions or strings or some new kind of combinations of old particles. It's found nothing else. So now we have a puzzle and no answers, right? And that's the most.
So now we need to make an even bigger collider to prove that there's nothing else ever going to be found with our bullshit. And they can't find anything else just because they have so much they are shoving so much energy into the experiment. There's no way you could even see the experiment anymore. there's so much energy in the experiment. It's like seeing a candle and you got the space shuttle engines shooting at it, and you're going to, oh yeah, I can still see the candle flame. No, you can't.
Frustrating thing, because people don't want to say this out loud, but here we go, since no one's listening to this, right? The last time particle physicists were surprised.
You're not particle physicists. You're perturbation physicists. You're just lying to say you believe in particles. You don't believe in particles. You believe in wavicles.
An experimental result from a particle accelerator was in the 1970s. Since then, we found new particles, but they were already predicted and expected to be there. We've never found a particle since the 70s that no one had anticipated finding long.
So, and again, this only has to do with their stupid, silly, idiotic, crazy, nonsensical, crappy pyramid of bullshit that they've made that just has nothing to do with anything real. And again, no matter what result they get, they'll just say that's what the result is. Okay, let's just change our triangle into an optical loggle, and we'll just give this a plus charge instead of give this a minus charge. We'll just fucking fudge the facts to fit the theory.
Well, just the idea of a particle collider, as a layperson, as a person just looking on the outside, like, you got to create crashes.
Yep.
Like, that's the only way to figure out what's going on with the basic building blocks of the universe. You have to crash them.
Yes, you can't get a scalpel and cut an atom open. So yes, that's what you have to do. That's right. You have to violently extract pieces because you can't make a scalpel. So yes, if you want to dissect the frog, you have to put a little piece of dynamite in it and blow the frog up. And then you can see what the frog's made out of. Yeah, that's the way it works, because we can't make a scalpel.
Things into each other.
I know, yeah. Well, so the secret to that is that really the world is not made of particles; it's really made of fields, right? That's the quantum.
Yes, exactly. So why do you keep saying the word particle? Why do you keep lying that you give a shit about any particle theory? You don't give a shit about anything called a particle. You just give a shit about some kind of ethers. A whole bunch of ether fields of ethery mush that shit perturbates through that you call a virtual perturbation. I mean, this is just such crap. Glaring crap. It's glaringly crappy. And you fuckers are giving me an argument? You can't see how glaringly crappy this is?
Field theory is the label given to this. So for the electromagnetic field, for the light coming out of the light bulbs, that makes sense. We figure out the fields first, and then we found the particles later.
Yeah, no. It doesn't make any sense at all. We found the field, and then we found the particle, and you're still calling them virtual particles when it comes to a magnet. So how does it make some fucking sense? Your stupid electromagnetic field, fucking photons aren't bent by either magnetism or fucking goddamn electricity. So why do you keep pretending this thing is an electromagnetic thing when it isn't disturbed by electromagnetic? And then you say it's bent by gravity. So why don't you call it the gravity bent gravity field? Because obviously a photon must have some connection to gravity, not a connection to electromagnetic. I mean, you can't see how logically disconnected this crap is.
But it's also true, as we were just talking about, for the particles like electrons, protons, quarks, neutrinos. These are all vibrations in field.
Yeah, so there he just said it. They're all vibrations in field. So why are you calling them particles? How the fuck do you call something solid? This is a thing. Particle is a word it's like the word thing. It's a thing. It's not a fucking vibration. It's a fucking thing. A material thing. A thing. Why are you cheating these words so grossly? It's a vibration in the field. So particle in the dictionary should be a vibration in a field. Is that really what these assholes, you're going to let them do this to the English language? You're going to let them take words and completely destroy their meaning. And you're going to applaud and say, oh, yeah, great, Nobel Prize. For abolishing reason, logic, continuity of language. Yes, we have a quantum gas that is colder than absolute zero. It has unenergy in it. That's okay with you fuckers.
So what you should think about when you think of colliding particles, it's not little P-shaped things that are bumping into each other and smushing, right?
Okay, so again, so when you think of particles, just forget about all logic about what the word particle is supposed to mean. And the word wave doesn't mean wave anymore because waves are going in straight lines. They don't spread. They don't have a wave front. They don't do anything normally associated with a wave. They're just some sort of coaxial perturbation. Oh, God, this is disgusting.
It's really like a little vibration in two fields that are coming into the same place and overlapping. And all the particles that could potentially exist are fields that are out there in the world. And usually they're just quietly sitting there, not doing it.
So again, how does this make any sense? Like, again, isn't he just admitting this is all a sham? We have fucked the English language. We have fucked the meaning of words just so we can tell a silly story. So a bear isn't really a bear. It's a human being. Okay, we'll call them black people. So it's just a metaphor for black people. So in the Three Bear story, you see, it was three black people and some little white orphan broke into the black people house, and stole their shit. So it's just a metaphor, you see. So the real story is, so we're just using three bears because it's more polite.
Anything. But when these particles that you made in the Large Hadron Collider hit each other, that sets up vibrations in every field in the universe, like very faint little jiggles up and down. And then you look.
Every field in the universe, which means every single thing. Like I say, there's a fucking human field. There's an atom field. There's an electron field. There's proton field. There's Higgs field. There's boson fields of all kinds. There's all kinds of lepton fields and muon fields and field. Rope. Bullshit. Fuck shit. Just quit. I mean, just, God damn it. This is too silly. This is sillier than arguing religion. It really is sillier than religion. It's sillier. This is a silly, this is Holy Ghosty silly. Like, what the fuck is the Holy Ghost? What the fuck is that? What? God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost. What the fuck is that? There's a ghost in the religion. I didn't think ghosts were supposed to be in religion, like there were real things. And there's a holy anointed ghost. Fuck. But this is just as bad. No logical continuity here at all.
You see, in quantum mechanics says there's a probability it will look one way versus another. So the way you make it, how in the world do you make a Higgs boson by colliding protons, even though the Higgs boson is over 100 times heavier than a proton, right? The answer is really you're setting up vibrations in the Higgs field.
Right. So it's 100 times heavier, and yet we can't detect it. It's inside the proton. So there's a thing inside the proton that's 100 times heavier than the proton. And they get away with that. The Bill Gates guy was laughing at that when they were doing that about quarks and gluons, because gluons are heavier than quarks. Like, well, how can that possibly be?
Field, which was always there all along, and then you very quickly, actually you can't. The Higgs boson disappears so quickly you'll never see it. You see what it decays into. You see what it converts into.
Yeah, it doesn't decay into anything. It's all just a pile of shit. A pile of preposterous shit.
The vibrations in the Higgs field get transferred to vibrations in other things, and that's what we observe in our detector. So if you are
so again, more bullshit. Their detector doesn't observe shit directly. It's so far removed from anything called real evidence. So I don't even know how to metaphor how indirect it is, but it's like somebody slips on the sidewalk. And they'll make up this whole, and there was a car accident, and then somebody slips on the sidewalk, and they're just going to make up a story about how, well, yeah, that's the guy had some boogers in his nose, and the boogers flew onto the sidewalk, and the guy slipped. They just make it up. They just make up that seems like a good theory to me. Sure, that could happen. Yeah. Sure could. Yeah, and sure could a million other fucking idiotic made-up stories.
It will do the sort of conceptual switch from particles to fields, and the reason why we need an accelerator and a collider to make new particles begins to make a bit more sense.
Oof.
It doesn't make any sense. So again, it begins to make a bit more sense. No, it doesn't make any sense at all. To anybody who's got a brain, it doesn't make any sense. The thing inside of something weighs more than the thing outside. The steering wheel weighs more than the car. What? That makes sense to somebody? No, it doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
Doesn't it? Don't you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh, I get it now. There was something that I had read.
So it's funny that you people have turned reason into religion. Oh yeah, that's hilarious. No, it's fucking disturbing. All right, still nothing from the shit gallery. I mean the brain dead fucking the trash brainy the.
Ed, I'm trying
It's
to
like
remember.
one more thing. Like
Okay.
if you're in a room with two pianos and you play one piano, the other piano will start vibrating along with it a little bit.
Ah, that's an interesting way to look at it.
That's the one field, the quarks and the gluons and the protons start.
Yeah. Oh, that makes perfectly good sense. That happens to me all the time. I totally get that. No, there's no evidence that any of that shit happens. No evidence that any fucking bullshit like that happens, especially when it comes to these little bits. The little bits either hit, they don't hit. They don't vibrate any.
But the Higgs field vibrating a little bit. That's what we eventually see.
I'm glad you mentioned gluons. That's one of the things that I had read about that they had either discovered or were able to observe with the Large Hadron Collider was I believe it's called quark gluon plasma.
That's right. You got it right.
Thank you. Which is an immensely dense thing. That the way they described it was something that was a fraction the size of a sugar cube would weigh as much as the Earth itself.
Yeah, that's right. So usually what you try to do with particle accelerators is
This is just more bullshit about pulling magnets apart and saying, oh, the thing is so big and so heavy. When no, it's not. It's magnetized. The force is pushing it down, pushing the magnets together. And the force has been segregated, so therefore it maximizes the potential of the force to create pressure. So the pressure's been maximized because you've taken all the pressure away from in between the magnets. And now you're seeing what the actual pressure is.
discovered new particles, right? So to do that, why haven't you discovered them already? Usually it's because they're too heavy. It takes a lot of energy to make them. E equals mc squared. If the mass is big, you need a lot of energy in the smallest possible region.
So again, it's this mass argument. This is not about mass. When they say mass now, they just mean the force between something. It has nothing to do with the actual mass of the actual object, and especially in nuclear physics, because nuclear physics is magnetic physics. For fuck's sake, they don't, the fact that they have somehow, in the 50s, they knew that, and they don't know it anymore. They somehow have forgotten that magnetism is holding atoms together.
That's how you make new particles. So to do that, you take some particles that are pretty small, like protons, and you smash them together, and that's how we discovered the Higgs, and we're looking for other things. But maybe your goal in life is not to discover new particles, but to understand the particles that we already know about, right? In that case, maybe you want to see what happens when you get, like you say, a huge number of particles together in the same place with a lot of energy, and see how they interact with each other and make a plasma. The plasma is like what's at the center of the sun, right? But instead of electrons and photons, we're going to make it out of quarks and gluons. So instead of smashing together protons, a proton has 3 quarks each, right? We smash together the nucleus of a heavy atom, like an iron or lead atom, right? Which has, dozens of protons and neutrons in it. So we get as many particles as we can squeezed together in the same place. So the energy is a bit more diffuse, but we get to study how they interact with each other. Because that's what conditions were like near the Big Bang. Lots of particles going on. It wasn't just 2 particles smacking into each other. So,
all right. So they take nucleuses and smash them together, and they are arguing that now that through this process, yes, you would say logically you could figure out how tied together the bits are based on how much the bits fly apart. Some of that's logical, but to give it names like it's a gluon, bullshit.
we're learning a lot about what conditions were like in the very, very early universe.
What is the mass of this stuff, this quark gluon plasma? Like, there's some insane number that I remember reading.
Yes, but
So again, they're associating mass with the amount of pressure holding something together. It's like the cylinder of an engine. If I push a cylinder in and I close the valves and I try to pull the cylinder out, it would take it, I can't, because it's creating a vacuum, no pressure. So I have complete pressure on one side and no pressure on the other side. It just can't be pulled out. It'll have to break some part of the system for me to pull the cylinder out. Some part of the system will break. The matter will crack. Something will break. You won't do it. That's the truth. Because that's how strong the external pressure is. And it's the external pressure that prevents you from creating no pressure. But they're too stupid to figure that out. Too full of their fantasies. Still nothing from the commenters. Wow. Jesus, you people are not very encouraging. You're not getting any of this. You're not buying it. You're not buying that this does sound like horseshit. You can't just say, this does sound like horseshit. You just can't say it. It seems a pretty weak proof. Nobody should be thrown in jail based on this as evidence.
My neural implant is failing me, so I cannot remember the number right now, but we could Google it. Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know. It's very dense.
Gigantic, massive.
So again, very dense, very heavy, very, and it just has to do with the fact that no, the cylinder doesn't gain 5 million pounds because I'm trying to pull it. I'm trying to create a perfect vacuum. The amount of energy it takes to create that perfect vacuum is more than I can pull. And if I actually force it to actually do it, like I said, something will break. The valve will break. The rings will break. Some piece of the matter will fail.
Bit of a cheat, right? Like, so I get laughs when I give talks on the Higgs boson because I mentioned that the lifetime of the Higgs boson, I already said it disappears very quickly, right? So I say it's 1 zeptosecond, which is true. And just like,
right, like we can measure a zeptosecond. See, all this shit is just such horse shit that there's, we have any realistic way of doing that. No, it's just theoretically a zeptosecond. It's not an actual zeptosecond.
When I say quadrillion, you're like, what is that number? I said 10, 15, but who cares?
Right.
The point of a zeptosecond is really short. So I say the zeptosecond, which is a really short period of time. And everyone laughs. It's 10 to the minus 21 seconds, but who cares?
Right. So it never exists because it's just like the cylinder argument. You can't do it. So this is just the amount of time it takes before you've broken something. So you're not measuring what is, you're just measuring how long it takes to break.
It's like if I said 10 to the minus 28, would that have changed your opinion of the Higgs
Right,
boson in any way? Like, it's a really short period of time.
Right, like 5 quadrillion.
Yeah,
Is that more than 4 quadrillion?
Yeah, it doesn't really affect your life in any meaningful way.
So that was the end. All right, that was a horrible waste of brain space, but it needs to be done. So maybe we'll do the dark matter one some other time. Very disappointing rubbish. All right, no more comments. So maybe we'll do a little bit of David D. Hilster and then get the fuck out of here. I think it's David D. Yeah, it's D. Hilster, right? So not David D. Hilster. David D. Hilster. Okay, I'm here. What am I doing?
Hey, I believe we are live. I'm starting to get this, actually. It's pretty cool. Going live here. Today, David Hills with my Ohio State shirt on. Yes, that's where I went. So I'm sure people...
Not much of an advertisement there. Yeah. Ohio's pretty lame.
I did notice some of my subscribers saying they're going to come this way, so I really appreciate that. Again, this is David Hills. I am a dissident scientist and critical thinker, and I am here to be your science therapist, make you woke. Science woke. Oh, look at that. I'm gonna get that down because I've got to watch it on my phone here and say, oh, that's what's really happening there. I've got the chat in a different couple of places, so I'll be watching it. And if you're tuning in after this is recorded, I really appreciate your patronage, and of course, not patronage in the sense of paying for anything, but at least watching the videos and giving yourself a chance.
Yeah, I'll jump ahead.
An hour, usually an hour and a half, I'm here. But again, if you have any questions or comments or anything, of course, just let me know. And I guess Lisa Hauserman, she watched the whole thing, and like I said, it tested very well. We tested it with an audience in a theater with people who are not scientists, and the overall reaction has been very good. Why didn't it make it into the film festivals? Well, the reason is it almost made it into the Oxford Film Festival in England. Why? Because, and I'm sorry to bore you if I told you the story before, but because they're not big fans of Einstein. They really like Newton a lot better than Einstein. So I was talking to a person there, and I made it into the finals, and they were just worried about the controvery. A lot of those people are what I call intellectuals, not critical thinker.
Okay, his movie, by the way, it's okay. It's a family movie. It's a little personal drama story. It really doesn't have anything to do with Einstein being wrong. And in one sense, it's just kind of making fun of his own dissident organization in the sense that he just has little clips of the little tinfoil hat bullshit. But yeah, it just has, he doesn't prove anything at all. You know.
First, and this is something that I'm trying to put into our vocabulary. For those of you who don't know, I've got a master's in linguistics. I do care about language because I work with supercomputers and human language. And
yes, and there's no evidence of that, right? In his use of language, he doesn't seem like a professional. But whatever. Jump ahead.
Those are proprietary. GPS positioning is worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. So they don't care. It's sort of like Area 51. They want everybody to have all the rumors about things because they don't care. Because they can go about on their secret next plane or next weapon or whatever and let everybody think there's aliens running around it.
So here's this Lisa person. It was nice because we got to know your family and there are other things along this way. So, again, it was just, that's all the movie was. It was just personal, anecdotal. It wasn't a physics movie in any way. It wasn't a documentary in any way. It was a nice little family thing, and it had a great soundtrack, but that's all it had.
They don't care because they like that because it distracts. So anyways, let's take a look at this. He says, when your mom said, "I'm just a normal person, it's a summer, I lost it." Yeah, that is the moment in the film. When we screened that to a big audience, man, we got the fall laughs at that. I was going through the I don't remember if it was me or my editors. I had some really great editors on that film. One was worked in TV extensively, another person worked on documentaries, and that's one of the reasons why that film was so good. I was the editor, although I took it over after we got the story there. But that was a golden moment. The other golden moment, Lisa, which is really, really interesting, is I had my mom. If you watch the movie, I gave her a list of 50 physicists to call. And
yeah, that was the most tedious and boring part of the whole thing, was the non-physics discussions on the phone. What do you want, lady?
In fact, the guy who agreed to be asked questions about Einstein being wrong or right or whatever, he said, "What?
Oh, there's a Piro comment. Oh, how cool is that? A Piro comment. Which ideas from mainstream science can you dissident scientists not agree with? Can a dissident scientist not agree with? Are there any?" Wow. I mean, he's already, so Piro obviously doesn't watch too many of these videos, but clearly he has some, he's argued in defense of the NASA scientist who points out that gravitational lensing is horseshit. So he's obviously not paying attention to that point. So anyway, is it okay, oh, Piro's gotten all valley girly. Is it okay to think everything is waves and this subject-oriented world is just a cross-section? So here, Dave is obviously a guy who thinks particles are the way to go, not waves. So this is more just baiting. And we see it because of how neurology takes data. Huh? Object-oriented world is just a cross-section, whatever that means, cross-section of waves, and we see it because of how neurology takes data. It's a bizarre statement. We don't see much. We physically see things, but our brain processes concepts. It processes concept magnifying glass. It doesn't really do objects. It does concepts. It does functions. It understands things as what they do in the world, not what they are in the world, in a way. Like tree. Tree is not transparent. I can't run through it. Tree is a lot of things conceptually to me. It's not tree, like, yeah, a tree. In my brain, a tree is just the concepts related to tree, related to its material functions. I have to explain everything to you people.
Well, this is copying. Well, it is the case that if some young person comes along and shows us some big error where we've gone wrong, then
okay, now we have to another one. I mean, you have all sorts. I mean, you have all sorts of guys in your group, and each one has different things they do agree with from mainstream science. They do agree with from mainstream science, right? Well, they're all nuts. Most of the people in the group are con artists, frankly, bullshitters, ne'er-do-wells or something. I mean, they're just pretending to be scientists.
in fact, we could all be wrong. But what's really interesting in that answer is a preface that it's not gonna happen ever to that person or the mainstream, because if a person, we've got that already. We've got lots of them. In fact, we've got Porker within infinity. We've got now Deneau with his underwater experiment showing.
Okay, so it's back to this silly stuff. We got Deneau. I don't even think Deneau is part of his group, but whatever. I mean, clearly, just horseshit. This proves magnets are spinning. Oh no, it doesn't prove any of that.
And what magnetism really most likely is physically.
Oh yeah, it's most likely it's spinning fluid. Most likely.
We've got ether theories. We've got particle theories that are competing. Lattice theories. Those three theories are the ones competing right now. And we have all kinds of papers, literally thousands of papers showing Einstein wrong.
Yeah, a bunch of bullshit. So a bunch of silly. What do you call the freelance religions? Yeah, a bunch of spirituality. Crystal bullshit competing with the religious authority. But yeah, it's all horse shit. Unicorns versus Jeebus. I mean, not a good trade-off. I don't really want to jump off of the Jesus to hop on the unicorn. Doesn't seem like much point in either one of those adventures.
Dr. Karazani, my mentor, I think is probably the best, but there's still other ones. My father has one on the, if you go to the YouTube, financialphilosophy.org, look at our most popular videos. The second one, my dad talks about special relativity. So we have those people. The problem is that they don't want to listen.
All right, so Piro's doing his typical incoherent rubbish thing. No, I'm asking. What does that mean? That is interesting too. So either this comment's way ahead of what he's saying, or it's way behind what he's saying, but it's certainly not connected to what he's saying. I have to go down to see more Piro mush. But I mean, so he's doing the I mean thing again. Each of you agree with different things in mainstream science and disagree with others. Well, that's exactly what you said before. So saying it twice, well, kind of wasting people's time. Is there anything in mainstream science that, in your view, is unacceptable in dissident science? In dissident scientist? Not written very well. Or does anything go? Could you theoretically have a dissident? I don't know. Obviously, he doesn't like dissidents to his dissident science. Clearly, I was a dissident to the dissidents, and they said, you can't play with us. So he's obviously a pussy. But I hate to jump ahead because, well, I don't even think he's responding to Piro. But let's see.
Listen to him. So that's just normal. Your second part of your question, he says, I mean, you said, let's see, let me see here. I'm sorry about this. All sorts of guys. Just, I mean, I'm going to go back up here. I think I missed it. There we go. Oh, okay. Like, is it okay that everything is a wave object-oriented world? And I don't know. It's all what you're proposing is you have a theory, or you have some theory you subscribe to, it's or your own. That's absolutely totally good. You'll say, I mean, you have all sorts of guys in your group, each one of the different things that do agree with mainstream, that has different things they do agree with mainstream. Yeah, absolutely. There are people who believe that neutrinos exist. I think the majority of people in our group believe neutrinos exist, and they just don't look into it. Or I talk about this. There's a video I have on this, so if you go back and take a look, I can't remember which one it was, but I talk about this. I mean, people cherry pick. One of the problems with dissident scientists, they cherry pick as well. They come up with their theory, they fall in love with it, and then they cherry pick things like ether theory. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. I want to just go through the questions here. So yeah, absolutely. There are people
look, he fundamentally thinks ether theory is horseshit. And yet he says, let's have a group that has 90% ether theory people in it, and I'll affiliate myself and associate myself with what their objectives are. How can that make any fucking sense? I mean, really, you have to separate the two arguments, as I've sort of pointed out. I'm arguing how their theory is weakly evidenced and silly, and I'm arguing how my theory fits the evidence so much better and is not silly. Those are the two arguments being made by me to accomplish my task. That's what they should be doing. They should be spending time saying, why is regular science weak? And then explain how they have a strong counter theory. But you can't have a strong counter theory if you're saying anything goes, and yeah, it could be ether, could be this, could be that, could be this. That's not a strong theory then. You either assert a strong theory with strong evidence, or you're just replacing weak with weak. No point in doing that. I'm not being clear as I could probably. Yes, that's right. It's a habit of yours not being clear. Let's see what Lisa said to Piero. No worries, hun. Oh, man. God, shoot me. Being called a hun, it's a huge boner killer. Oh, God, it's going to take me a week to get over that one. I'm clueless about most science, so for me, this is just, I like looking at David's straggly hair, and, you know, he has those especially kind of girly old lady librarian glasses, and I like that. And he has books and stuff in the background. He has purple on his thing there, violet anyway, or what is that? That's lilac colored, kind of. There's a word for that color, but I can't remember what it is. That color is, that color is, it's not purple, it's some other color. Oh, anyway, where was I? La la la. Yeah, his commenters are more useless than mine.
we have that argue special relativity is right in our group. Guess what though? Our group allows that. That's why I claim on the new website you're going to see, hopefully.
Yes, we're all fucking tinfoil hats for all the way down. Yeah, tinfoil hat all the way down. Yeah, it'd be a cool new website. Yay. All right, still nothing. Amazing. Huh. Amazing. You timed out, Jenna? Oh, come on. What did you delete? Come on, I give you people power and then you start doing silly shit. Come on. You have to give chicks a little more latitude. It's only fair. So he did this over this comment. No? What do you mean no? What does no mean? Explain yourself, Sid. I fucking hate when they start waxing lyrical about elegance, beauty, etc. Puke. A perfectly rational statement. I don't know what happened. Well, that's you know, using the physics excuse of, well, I didn't know virtual photons weren't fair. I didn't know that was, I didn't know dark matter was a God of the gaps explanation. Well, anyway, I'll cut you a break, but be careful. Okay, just be careful. I didn't know, you know, wrench is a little bit awkward. I know, you know, it's a little heavy and it bangs into things. So be careful with your wrench. Especially around the chicks, for fuck's sake.
In the next coming months this year, I hope, in sciencewoke.org, is that we are the best society and we are the best. The CMPS is the best scientific society out there. Even if you, like you, Electric Universe is a subset of us in the sense of, yeah, they say the opposite. That's their privilege. But there are other theories. They believe electrical. A lot of us believe other things. But regardless, the CMPS allows for all criticisms of other people's dissident work, which I've done. I did a video on that in the CMPS YouTube.nationalphilosophy.org. Go there and you'll see one I do on ether. And the etherists have problems. I'm going to talk about that today. But our group
And you can get away with it because you're president of the organization. So what do you piss some people off? What are you going to do? Block me? You guys, just a hypocrite. Fucking hypocrite.
Allows you to agree with things in the mainstream and write papers about it and argue against other people. You can argue against Big Bang, anything. It's all fair game as long as you write a scientific paper that we feel is worthy of science going forward. And yeah, absolutely.
As long as it has a lot of conspiracy theories in it, you point out how they're hiding all of the Steinmetz books in the special vault at the library. They won't let me read it.
All right, let's keep going down. Wow, that was pi rho 314. That's like 2.1415926 pi. So, but I mean, do you agree with it? Let's say, but I mean, each of you disagree with different mainstreams. Okay, you did that. I did that. Sorry. Is there anything interesting in the sexual discipline, or does it?
Yeah, he reads comments so much worse than I do. I think he's a lot worse than I am.
Anything go?
Mumbly, bumbly, mumbly, mumbly. Oh, well, yes, that's a mumbly comment. Mumbly, mumbly, mumbly.
Is there anything in mainstream science that, in your view, is unacceptable in dissonant science, or does anything go? I think you're talking about that. Scientists that agree with mainstream science, that's totally fine. You can. It's harder and harder to do that, though. From what I gather, it's in different pages. Okay, but it speaks pretty much Einstein being wrong. I hope I'm right, but that's what I took from the film. Like I said, nobody should believe what I say. Look at what we have. I mean, my goodness, Einstein.
That's the whole point. Exactly. You look at it and you say, gee, this is thin as fuck. You don't make very good arguments, frankly. They're not very complete. You're arguing for a particle theory. You haven't even figured out that you have to deal with a few issues that come up when you're arguing for particles. And you don't deal with any of those. The ones that have been, the arguments that have been around for hundreds of years. They're not arguments somebody made up yesterday. They're arguments that are 200 years old. You have to deal with them.
Relativity. Oh my gosh, we have thousands of papers about how it's wrong. You got to look at it yourself. I mean, relativity is wrong. Here's the first thing. They tell you in class, the first thing is in special relativity, the mass increases. Let's just take that one. What?
So the silly mass increase thing, like the length contraction crap, it's really not that critical to the fucking theory. But anyway, there's no way to create any evidence one way or the other. So it's all just a horseshit it's a debate that will get you nowhere, in my opinion. You have to argue something more, something. You have to, your evidence has to be connected to something that you can make more tangible, real.
Why? What's the mechanism for it? Why does it do that? And the reason it does that is because Einstein said there are certain rules in the universe that the universe must follow. And he's sort of like, if the facts don't fit the theory, change the facts. So start with that. Tell me anybody in this group or anybody on this planet, what causes mass increase? And guess what? It's not observed in particle accelerators. I had one brave guy who agreed to be on my film, who was a pro-relativity guy. But he says they don't observe mass increase in particle accelerators. Where else would you see it? Well, they say, well, there's not. Yeah, it's a long story. That's not true either. So, here we go. Justin Olson, welcome. Would you agree that the assumption that the biggest flaw with relativity is time dilation? No, I don't think that, because if you look at Karazani's work, I think it is a problem. In time dilation, if you watch my movie, you'll find out that time dilation was not proved by supposedly the around the world clock experiment. In fact, it dies. I will tell you that story from the movie. Dr. Everly Spencer, who's 98 years old now, she's a vegetarian. Like myself, I do my whole plant-based diet.
Yeah, and she's overtly wacky. Okay, so she's not a really good poster child. She has a fucking dog glued to her left breast. I mean, come on. It's just you gotta, if you're gonna do this PR thing, then you're gonna have to say, yes, okay, that looks like a tinfoil hatter. I mean, if it quacks like a tinfoil hatter and it walks like one, has a dog glued to its breast like one, then yeah, it's a tinfoil hatter.
I reversed my heart disease. I have no more heart disease. So anybody who's having problems with health out there, go to a whole plant-based diet, man. That's the only diet ever shown to reverse chronic diseases, all of them. Yeah, why doesn't anybody know? Well, actually, lots of people are going to know. But the interesting story about her, she is a vegetarian. Her family is, and she's 98, and she's still alive and kicking. Well, she got her degree from MIT, PhD, and she asked for the data from Heffel and Keeley, or whatever. Please don't get me on names like terrible names. We linguists, I don't know what that is. But they got the raw data from those guys. Now
I don't see any point in arguing the fact that there's this thing called time dilation, in the sense that yes, matter changes when you move it. So why argue that? It seems that that's pretty well established. So yeah, it was kind of a stupid experiment, though, frankly. I mean, the whole timing of the flights, and it all seemed kind of strange. They let the machine sit in an airport for 2 days for some reason to cool down or something. I don't know. It does sound like it's a little bit flawed as an experiment.
Is a big mistake. Here's the number one thing you want to do as a scientist if you want to fudge your data, which they did like crazy. They put atomic clocks on planes and flew them around the world in different directions. And of course, time dilation, the one on the ground and the one in the plane should have a difference. Now, that's what they were supposed to show. Well, she called them up and figured that she would get some interpreted data. Because if you give them raw data, if you give your raw data to anybody else, guess what? You are open to absolute criticism because you can say no. And you know what happened with the time dilation experiment that everyone quotes and talks about in the books? Here's the answer. They literally picked, and in the film, she talks about this. It's not always really clear in the film. It's one of the things that I think that's a little unclear. But basically, with that experiment, what happened was she found out that they picked a point on the time. So basically, you have a atomic clock on the ground, atomic clock in the plane. Then you start your experiment, which is when the plane starts moving. That's when it happens, because that's when you start the experiment. Because otherwise, the clock's in the same frame, and they should be no difference. So that's when you start. It turns out that the only way they could fit the data to justify time dilation, to support Einstein, was to pick a data point on the graph that they graphed 25 hours before the experiment started. I mean, is that absolutely nuts? I mean, that's absolutely nuts. Watch my film, that's in there. So this is time dilation. So yeah, that's a flaw. But I think the bigger flaw is what...
So, I mean, the argument would be then that somehow that extra time, adding that extra time where the two clocks are the same, somehow there was enough variance in that same time. So the two clocks somehow weren't running at the same time. They weren't telling the same time or something. So I don't see much point in arguing that kind of stuff, but whatever, do as you please. I think there is a consequence to velocity. So in my opinion, it makes perfectly good sense that clocks break when you accelerate them very, very fast. All right, there's no other Piro crap.
Chiarosani found, and that is in the mathematics of putting together the derivation for special relativity. And that is, it's pretty simple. I can give you a simple explanation, and I think that's a better explanation. So it's not, I can't do this very well. Here's a frame, so I can do that. And here's a frame, move this over, there we go. So this is the way. So this frame here contains this frame. This frame here is you on the ground watching a train go by. This frame here is Einstein in that train with a light source. And this train then is moving. Okay, so you do all the calculations and you get those equations of Einstein, which says time slows down, mass increases, and length contracts. Chiarosani shows you that these two frames, there we go. Man, I can't. There we go. I gotta get backwards. I can see everything backwards. This frame here, and this frame here, this frame here, mathematically is not needed, because if you have a light source on the train, it's now a point. You can measure that from this frame. That if you put 2 frames or 3 frames, those frames collapse mathematically. You can show
whatever. Mathematically, there's this isn't math, frankly. Okay. The question is do photons, when they're released from an atom, are they independent of their previous existence as something else? And the theory is that they are. Photons are always free of their history. So once they're moving somewhere, they contain no evidence of where they were or what they were doing when they were part of something else. So once they're admitted, they're free agents. No frames necessary.
mathematically that the frames that are used in deriving these wild and crazy special relativity equations are redundant. That you invent, he says, what he shows is you get this midterm velocity that doesn't really exist. You have the velocity of the frame and then the velocity of that meme that, in fact, I think I have it here. I'm going to go look it up here. I think it's on Facebook, my Facebook page, but I have a meme that says,
all right, so Piro says, well, I experience the world as a flow of information, as a film strip going by, and that's how I experience it. Well, I experience it as conceptualizing things. So things happen, I identify things that are similar, glass lens, glass bottle, similarity. I'm looking for pattern matches. That's all I'm doing. My brain finds pattern matches. It hears the train whistle, and then it kind of hears the rumble And it says, oh, a train is coming, because my brain knows that the whistle and the rumble are things associated with the train moving. And the fact that it's getting louder means it's heading in my direction. So these are all concepts I understand, the mechanism. So I understand what's going to happen. And I can say, I must relocate. Yes. Our duck and cover. Our jump and hope. I have to do something, or I'm going to be, train food. Physical models are just built to reproduce the stream of information. No, their physical models are built to demonstrate that the thing we can't see actually functions.
Something very interesting, and maybe it's in the memes. I'm sorry, I'm going to look this up, but it has to do with what we're talking about. Right when I need it, I can't get to it. Natural philosophy. I'm going to go try there. If I don't find it there, then I will tell you what it says. But basically, the problem is, Lisa, is that they will try to intimidate us pretty much. And there we go. CMPS memes. Let me show you this, since I can do that.
I don't want to do this, so
CMPS memes. I will go.
Jump ahead.
Justin Olson. Let me explain to you. I don't know if you've seen this. I think I did one on dark matter. Yeah, I did. I've done, I think, several. Dark matter doesn't exist. Dark matter was postulated because, believe it or not, they don't recognize. Here's the answer to dark matter. The gravitational field around the galaxy is not.
See, he'll say this, in my opinion, poorly, but part of it is true. The galaxy isn't a solar system. You can't do this point source thing with a whole galaxy because there's many billions of stars. So there's no, like even with a supercomputer, there's no way to calculate all the gravitational interactions. So you have to generalize the masses into something like what it would be like if, where it would be, and how big a ball it would be for one of the arms or something. And they're just not doing that. They're making it like a solar system model where you have a big, huge amount of mass in the center and a very tiny amount of mass floating around it. And a galaxy isn't distributed that way. It's like 50-50. The mass outside of the center is half the mass of the galaxy. So that's why it moves at a different speed, is because it's not one object rotating around another object. It's more like two objects rotating around each other. It's a different gravitational model.
A point. Yet, the physicists and the cosmologists treat all the mass in this galaxy as a point, as an equal gravitational field. It is not. And we know that because if we shoot, just think to yourself, if I shoot a satellite and I'm going past an arm of the galaxy, it's going to be attracted to that arm because all those masses together are going to have more gravitational force than the space in between the arms. So when you actually calculate.
So yes, obviously, where there's more mass, there'll be more gravity. Just like on an asteroid that's lumpy, they've already discovered that the gravitational field is inconsistent because the lumps on the asteroid are more mass. That means you're going to create more gravity because there is no center of gravity when something isn't spherical. So non-spherical objects do not have a center of gravity.
And we have.
I don't want to say it that way. They obviously have a center of their mass, their total mass. Their gravity, though, is not spherically symmetrical.
Let me see. I'll show you that. I can get to that. Go to Wiki, philosophy. I will now switch over. You go here. You search for. Oops, I'm clicking on, of course, the picture of it, which is really stupid. That was
uninteresting. I think we'll just jump ahead.
Well, you can calculate it using our model, which is our model. Guess what? The particle model thrives upon the geometry of mass and calculating gravitational fields. And it doesn't really calculate, well, you can calculate them, but you can calculate the forces. So if you have one of those dumbbell potato.
Right, so you don't need dark matter is the whole point. Their mathematics assume, their assumptions about how galaxies work were incorrect. Therefore, you don't have any expectation that the suns on the outside of the galaxy would be moving so much slower than the ones on the inside. You shouldn't have that expectation in the first place. And so now you don't have to fix it with your fake dark matter. So yes, the obvious answer. They're fixing a problem that doesn't really exist, and their fix is silly, got of the gaps, made up, invisible man glue, and has nothing to do with science or evidence or being reasonable or any of those good things. All right, I don't know what happened. I agree. Okay, maybe that book was an antique. I don't know what that could possibly mean. Nope. High. Well, I'm not very high. Maybe you are, but I'm not.
Asteroids. Guess what? I have one. Take a look at it. It's one of my more recent videos. I talk about that. A potato-like asteroid. And guess what they say in the article? Well, we have to calculate it because it's got an abnormal gravitational field. Why don't they do that with galaxies?
They didn't say abnormal. It has a non-symmetrical gravitational field. Yes, so it's pretty good evidence that gravity is, it has a lot to do with density. So shape matters. When things have a shape, that'll screw up the gravity. But I think everybody already knew this intuitively. I think a lot of people would understand that if they're standing on top of a mountain, there's probably more gravity than if they're in the bottom of the ocean, theoretically. I think people could understand that.
Because they want to win the Nobel Prize finding dark matter, and they're going to find it. Believe me, they're going to find it, even though it's all baloney and garbage. So that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to find it. So I think there's no way to test for it. So I don't think there's any possible way of finding it. So I don't think there's any chance that they'll find it because there's no way to test for it. If they have some, if they're speculating about some theory of a test, it's a bullshit theory.
Answer you. I hope, Mr. Olson, you're not going to leave me running away. Please investigate yourself. Don't believe what I'm saying. But I will tell you, I've got 20, 30 years experience with these people, hanging out with them, looking at this stuff. I've taken a lot of time to look at it. I do have a bachelor's in advanced calculus, so I do know math and all that stuff. And I understand a lot of things are being taught.
Yes, and so you think you could do a better job of making a good argument, but instead you don't make very good arguments.
He's saying exactly what the guy in my movie says, and that is Einstein made a theory that is about the observer-based theory, and it's not about the effects. It's not about what's really happening.
Well, that's not exactly true, but he made some statements that can be misinterpreted, so they're not precise enough. So when he said basically that light always travels the speed of light, regardless, he should have made it more explicit that he's saying regardless of observation. I mean, it will move the speed of light. Now, what your observer is doing, whether it's moving with it or not moving with it, doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the light itself, the photon, always moves the speed of light. It always captures a certain amount of distance in a certain amount of time, and that's it. What amount of distance you're capturing doesn't have anything to do with it. And the fact is, Einstein's basically saying that if you're moving parallel with a photon, like you're moving a little tiny bit slower, and you're still seeing the photon moving the speed of light, well, that's only because your clock is running so pathetically slow, okay, that zillions of years pass by while you're experiencing the photon. So you're not seeing the photon as it is. Your perception is completely distorted, and so you're seeing 1 minute is like 10,000 years for the photon, you know. And it's not that extreme, of course, but it's like a doubling. So you're missing half of reality to allow the photon to have the illusion of still moving the speed of light from your perspective. But it's only because your perspective is distorted by the fact that your clock isn't working right. You're perceiving it badly. So when you're moving very fast, you're perceiving reality very, very badly.
In the event of effects, that's what he says. So in my movie, one of the guys in my movie says exactly that. Roto X, you are right on, in my opinion. All right, let's go down. Since I sign off my live gigs in August, but I'll be back on them, and I'll use one of your memes called, I can give you credit for. Hey, no problem, absolutely. Use memes. I have people using them. Feel free. Most important to me is getting them out there. I don't care if I'm the one who makes it. The only thing I like to say to people, the only thing that getting more and more people knowing about me gives me more ability to get more people to know about this. That's all. I seem to be okay spokesman for this, and I am totally happy.
And knowing about this, that this is any theory, doesn't matter. Religion is fun. Let's all talk religion. Let's all share our religions. We won't share evidence.
With that, I'd love to have a lot of people know about what I'm doing, because that means a lot of people will be looking at what I'm steps. That it is so broken that you don't even know where to start. Stephen Crothers is the guy who talks about this. In fact, if you go to star something, Stephen Crothers, what's that called?
Yes, a guy who's basically an overt religious kook who thinks electricity makes us more spiritual. He believes in superluminal bullshit, complete fluffernutter crackle bullshit. Fairy tales, little life-affirming fairy tales.
Sky Scholar. Go to Sky Scholar, look up Stephen Crothers. And you will see there a guy talking about it. And basically what happens is even the math equations that they show you that look very simple, that maybe only have 3 or 4 or 5 symbols, and they try to explain it, the reason it's so wrong is because they've made so many wrong steps to get there. They've simplified it. They've done things because they want it to be simple. They know in the end it's got to be simple, but it never is. Particle physics has 19 free variables. What is that? 19 knobs that they use that they can adjust anywhere and anytime they want. Okay.
It really has nothing to do with Einstein's field equations having 19 knobs, because it really doesn't. So that's just sort of bullshit. So you're not really telling the truth. Oh, Piro says, I think field means special distribution. Ooh, it's a special thing. There's special. The universe makes special things. Like Piros. Piros are special. Special.
Model is that. There's no such thing as a model at all. So yeah, the math is, they say it's very important, but at times, like I said, the particle model that we have, you don't need any math to understand how the entire universe works, including electronic circuits. So, and we're writing that.
Yeah, whatever. It's just crack of shit, because they just got to the gaps. G1 particles are gravity and magnetism and electrons, and they're manipulated by G2 particles, and the G2 particles go faster than the speed of light, like twice as fast, or twice the cubed, speed of light's cubed or something. And then there's obviously G3 particles that manipulate the G2 particles, and bullshit all the way down. Layers of BS. Jump ahead a little.
Explains exactly that can happen, because a photon isn't one particle. It has to be a lot of particles of something coming at you in waves. Okay, ether.
All right, a photon has to be a lot of particles coming at you at waves. So that's their theory. That's quantum mechanics, for fuck's sake. Some perturbation-y thing that comes with different intensities and all this other horse shit. When the simple answer is no, photons are simple things. The space between them is the frequency. The space between them is the wavelength. The little bits are the fucking photon. They're corpuscles, for fuck's sake. Yeah, that's all typed. I think field means special distribution. Like that's supposed to be meaningful to a logical reasoning person. You're supposed to say that's what? Special distribution? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is a special distribution? I mean, really. There should be that should be in the syllabus or whatever of a physics book. Special distribution equals fields are fun.
I'm gonna make sure keep looking at you guys here. We got 6 watching. We'll continue here, and I know I have a lot of people watch this later. They actually enjoyed that. So this is from our topic database. It is you go to db.netphilosophers.org.
Jump ahead.
Is moving. That's a lattice theory. You have the ether theory, and the problem is it's not the only one. And I would say 90% of the people in our group are etherists. And I keep telling them, ether has inherent problems which are not solved, which are transverse waves, and they have to add gravity as a afterthought. And none of them can explain lasers. None of them. And our model explains perfectly lasers.
No, it doesn't explain perfectly, but whatever. Horseshit. But yes, ether is stupid. Unnecessary. It's not finding an answer. It's creating another question. Ether from what? What is he? What? So the matter isn't the thing in the universe. The energy isn't the thing in the universe. The ether is the universe. It's just converting the universe into something else. You don't need something else. Force and matter. That's all you need.
Absolutely. Applause for Lisa. And you said you don't know the science stuff. Absolutely. The whole idea was that Einstein was the ether killer. And why that's not true. And
well, clearly he wasn't an ether killer. He just came up with an ether that's perfectly invisible, and therefore you don't have to account for any side effects or any drag problem or anything. You just say it's a magical attraction force. There, we're done. It's an invisible fluid. Done. I've done my job. No, that's not doing the job. That's evading the job.
Well, I mean, again, you have to believe in ether, but Dr. Carazani actually was a graviton modelist, so he's more on our side of the particle theory. So anyways, yes, absolutely. He was the one who said, off with your head, ether. They were looking for it in the 1800s, since the 19th century, and couldn't find it.
Bullshit.
So I mean, these words, etherist.
Whatever, just bullshit.
Wouldn't expanding Earth be a bit catastrophic? No. I think the catastrophic part is like for like the catastrophic people, especially in the electric universe, are that lots of things like the Grand Canyon was created by lightning strikes. I don't see that only because I see the Grand Canyon being caused by Earth's expansion, but I think
so again, the expansion caused the tiny bit of water to make a gigantic riverbed. So the expanding Earth that had little puddles on it, and the little puddles drained into the oceans and made a big giant cut in the crust of the Earth. No, that didn't happen.
Catastrophes for sure, but I think a lot of things that people attribute those catastrophes, in my opinion, aren't from catastrophes. But do you have the right to do that and pursue it? Absolutely. You can even write a paper about it and submit it to us, and we'll put it in if it's a scholarly paper.
Yeah, okay, well, whatever scholarly paper means. I'll write a paper saying you haven't explained to me how atmospheres can be dense enough in low gravity. How do you create a dense atmosphere in low gravity? So why don't you explain it to me? I don't think we have any examples of even small planets or moons around the big planets where they have a dense atmosphere with low gravity. So why don't you just explain how you can keep the atmosphere on the Earth with a third of the gravity or less? A breathable atmosphere.
And it's got ideas. You don't have to agree with it, but I personally am not a catastrophic, even though there are catastrophes. Yes, like, a big asteroid is smacking into the Earth. Yes, we're still here. That's when I got cut off. Do you think we, as a civilization, could potentially create a device or vehicle to beat light speed? Justin Olson. It all depends. You know what I'm going to say? It all depends on your model. You want to know what our model says? The particle model? Well, it says that the gravitons, the gravity and light, the same particle going at the speed of light, gravity, light, electronic, electricity, all that stuff that's traveling at the speed of light.
I mean, let me just point out, I don't know how, what the effects of less gravity would be on an atmosphere. I'm just saying that we know our atmosphere, the dinosaurs breathed oxygen, and they'd have to consume a certain amount of it every day to be able to metabolize their food and do all that crap. So I'm just saying you have to explain how they could get enough oxygen in a thinner atmosphere.
But it's the same particle. And you can actually, there's no problems with that, actually, even with the stuff that you see. Well, guess what? For those things to change, like when you put it in a prism, and the light comes in, and it makes that rainbow. Well, light is bending. It's not space-time that's bending it. It's a gravity to a level down. So
right. So it's gravity to something moving faster than the speed of light. That is twice the speed of light, or some kind of other silly number, is somehow pushing the light. So there's some other little stuff, double gravitons, flying out of stuff, and it's pushing the light. But somehow magnetism can't do it. Magnetism can't push the light. And electricity can't push the light. But somehow these little particle thingies do. Yeah, that's not much of an argument.
If you think as light, waves of light as being waves of comets running through our universe, well, the gravity for that is a gravity.
Waves of comets. So again, it's just more... It's a terrible analogy. for a particle model.
One level down. So if the G1 particles are now the Earth and we go up a level, then again, what gravity is to push our particles, our planets, and heavenly bodies around, G1 particles or gravitons or light, that is one step down. And guess what? For light to go at the speed of C, for the G1 particle to go at the speed of C, or whatever you want to call it. You want to call it the photon, you want to call it the electron, you want to call it the electricity. You want
I know. See, nobody would do that. Nobody would call a photon and the electron the same thing because they know electrons can't go C. They can't travel the speed of light, actually. They can't do it. And you have to use a ton of energy to get them going anywhere close. So it's just horseshit to be talking about electrons or photons because they're not the same. It's just horseshit.
call it whatever. If that's going at the speed of light, the speed of G2 particles is going to be at C squared. Now, if you can take and make a device.
So C squared. So again, they are creating faster than light communication, essentially. They're creating an influence that works faster than the speed of light, and yet there's no indication of any super speed communication happening in the physical universe. So there's absolutely no evidence that any physical force is manipulating anything at C squared. No evidence that anything in the universe has been manipulated at that speed. Everything is slower than the speed of light, not faster than the speed of light.
That uses G2 particles to communicate. We can communicate, I calculated, in less than a fourth of a second, we could communicate to Mars. So if there were other civilizations and that's the way the universe would really work, then we could be having...
Yeah, so totally meaningless. Oh, there's a 5-minute delay instead of a 3-minute delay. How fucking important? Not important.
G2 waves being sent at us all the time with communication, we're not reading it. So the question is, with our model, can you actually get things faster than that? You're like, that's a good question. And right now, technically, I don't see a way yet, because if atoms are made of nucleons, and nucleons are...
Yeah, whatever nucleons are. So again, these are just made up words. He's talking like everybody agrees there's nucleons, whatever the fuck a nucleon is. I think there's protons and electrons and neutrons. I don't think there are nucleons.
Being orbited by G1 particles or electrons. And there we go. And those are going at the speed of C. If we're going at the speed of...
So again, there's no reason to believe they're going the speed of C. They calculate them maybe half the speed of light, but I say there's no reason to think they move at all in any particular velocity. They shudder. They don't go.
And we're hitting the spaces full of these particles going in all directions, like an ether, but this uses them.
Well, there's just no way you can make a force that moves photons that we wouldn't be able to detect this superluminal effect on the photon.
Moving particles, ether is a stationary particle. Then you have the problem of, is that going to tear apart atomic structure? And if it's going to tear apart atomic structure, we'd have to come up with a technical way to go one level down in the universe and start engineering the one level down periodic table, because we have atoms at our level, and then the nucleons of atoms have atoms that make up those nucleons at another level. That's what the infinite universe sort of says about it.
Yeah, whatever. So it's just this stupid bullshit of fractals all the way down kind of nonsense. And there's just no evidence that the big universe is duplicating what the little universe is doing. It's not a fractal. It's not how the thing works. There's one universe. It's the small universe. The small universe can make big things, but the empty space between the atoms is exactly like the empty space between the Earth and the sun. It's empty space is empty space. Things are things, and there's one universe, and there's no fractals.
The way things are. Again, you got to study that to understand why we say that. But the truth of the matter, in our particle model, there are things that go faster than the speed of light. Yes, and it goes squared, cubed, as you get down to levels, and then the question is, can those levels percolate and hold up at the level we're at? So, and if you think...
Yes, the fact is they would leak. They would leak influence into our level, and we would know there's something moving too fast. We would notice it. So it's just horse shit. Made up shit. Let's get done with this.
With me, he works with Ben Davidson. Yes, kind of. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, he doesn't want me because he's afraid I will say things. Hey, I love being on here, and I was just wondering, what does electric universe say that the electric field really is? And oh yeah, and what is charge? And I think they don't want to have those questions asked, and it's okay. Yeah, no criticism. No criticism.
It doesn't matter, right? This is so it's kind of funny. He's saying what is charge, and he ignores charge altogether. He pretends it doesn't exist. So I mean, a hilarious duplicity right there. He doesn't have any explanation for charge. He just pretends it's not a real thing. It doesn't really happen.
Free world, free thing. So anyways, folks, let me just check before I head off here to make sure I don't have, depending on the audience. Sorry about here. I'm like wasting time. I shouldn't be doing that, but here we go. 5 people watching. Now I'm going to get off of this, come back in, and see how many people are here. See, should have a red dot there. There it is. Live and kicking. There it is. And we have connected to the AirPlay. Well, I'm not sure, but I guess you guys are seeing it. And oh, I have it on pause. That's kind of dumb. Connected to AirPlay. Oh, that's why it's connected to AirPlay.
I have this.
So I'm not sure how many people are actually here. So let me see if I can find.
Yeah, I have the same 17. So it's 15, 17. I don't think I've ever seen a 16, but yeah.
Because again, I can tell you about the problems with people's theories, but right now we're trying to gather them. And in fact, Beltran31, send me an email to david@dissidentscience.com, and put that in there because we're making our website Science Woke, and in there we need to put him as one of the featured people who has theories. So that's what we want to do, is to put him in, get his face there and theories, because our whole goal is to show lots of different theories.
Yes, that helps. What your whole goal should do is be able to say, what do we have evidence, strong evidence supporting, and then try to really nail some things down about, yeah, the speed of light's pretty solid. Certain things are pretty solid. We have lots of evidence demonstrating the existence of these certain things that have certain properties. Now, whether you believe an electron is made out of a whole bunch of photons or something, well, then you sort of have to explain why the photons aren't all going the same way and how they're not going the same way because they're not moving the speed of light. So you have to sort of explain that, how they slow down because they're an electron now. You got to explain things like that. But he doesn't do any of that. All right, so no more this Piro.
Yeah, Lisa says he knows a political dissident. Absolutely, I watch Chomsky's stuff all the time on Facebook. I see him all the time talking about amazing things and how good he's really good. He's an extremely brilliant man. Watch your father's videos about relativity. I'm correct to interpret his overall argument as relativity is ambiguous. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, because he made assumptions, and any would disagree. Yeah.
All right, enough of that horse shit. And so we'll give our commenters a few minutes, 2 minutes to say something, and then we'll get the hell out of here. It's more than enough hours and hours worth of fun. And same old crap, really, right? There's just no, no capacity for somebody to make a valid counter argument to just about anything I say. It's just, it's all so solid that nobody can make any kind of counter statements, which is, I'm winning huge, but no one cares to notice that I'm winning huge. It's really depressing to be, it's like running a 2-minute mile. And it's like you have a videotape of it. Like, hey, look, I ran a 2-minute mile. Nobody cares. Horrible world we live in. Just absolutely no justice whatsoever. Deserve, fuck it. Doesn't mean anything. What the hell is wrong with this thing? Oh, the battery is low. That's what's wrong with it. I was wondering why I was smoking poorly. I probably should just change both of them. Yes, I probably should change both of them, Gary. And we'll be super powered. Oh, wrong way. This one has to go this way. This door is such a piece of shit. And then you gotta do this 5 clicky thing, and then you gotta wait for the software to load. Oh, I have to wait. Oh, it's terrible. Then you have to hit the button, and then it asks you a stupid question, new or old. I don't know, so I'll go with new. Much better. So 1 minute warning. Gotta put the batteries in the rechargers. Chinese fucking 29-cent Chinese recharger. It's really, I hate it. Spring thing. It just, it's a crap. But it charges the batteries. Oh. Quite nice. So nothing from you people. I guess I have to ask you a direct question. Are you awake? Well, they might not know the answer to that. Well, does drunk count? Yes, drunk would be still awake, I think. All right, let's see. What else could I ask the dopes in the audience? All the questions are just coming out. Are you all stupid dupes? Yeah. Yes, you are. I watched the documentary, so that's a bad beginning because it probably isn't going to have anything to do with what I'm saying. But let's see. That said that the efficiency of photosynthesis is by particles using the uncertainty principle from QM to find the quickest path. Well, it's obviously silly nonsense. Evolution has created a mechanism that's efficient. That is, it takes efficient paths. Okay, it doesn't, there's no Heisenberg inside of anything. It's just a nonsense. So there's no there's no uncertainty principle that creates the quickest path. So the uncertainty principle will not enable you to find the quickest path. The uncertainty principle essentially says you're vulnerable to the inefficient path. So that even in sense doesn't make any sense. So that part's illogical nonsense. There's clearly a probability of directional influences that happen when electrons and photons interact. And if they interact, you can interact efficiently or inefficiently in the sense that the electrons, depending on what charge they have, will fly off in more directions or in a very straight direction. So like a photomultiplier is, again, sort of like photosynthesis, right? A little photon goes in and you get a whole bunch of electricity out. Okay, a big electrical signal for a little tiny photon that went in. So the photomultiplier is essentially a very efficient photosynthesizer in the sense it creates a whole bunch of electricity for a tiny photon that went in. Now, obviously, you have to put electricity into the photomultiplier. So it's not creating energy. And so the chemistry that is the photomultiplier of photosynthesis is a chemistry that's on a margin in terms of what energy has to go in. So it obviously has to put some energy into the mechanism for the plant to be able to collect the light. All right. But the energy it's collecting from the light, that is the movement, is enough to reset the springs of the system, so to speak. So the photons create enough energy to reset the springs to make the electrons bounce out. And so I'm just saying it's just evolution that's decided it's made a very good spring mechanism. Now, our eyeball doesn't have to make energy. So the efficiency of our eyeball is probably higher in some respects in terms of detecting nuances between photons and frequencies and all that stuff. Because, you know, in photosynthesis processes ultraviolet light better than it does red light. So, you know, these are all things you got to kind of understand, that it's built to do a certain thing, and the efficiency is dependent on the demands. So photosynthesis, the demand is we need to collect the energy component. For our eyeballs, the demand is we need to collect the information component. We don't need the energy. We can make the eye very sensitive because we can pump in the energy to create an electricity flow. Now, photosynthesis in plants isn't creating electricity. It's creating pressure in atoms. So it's pressurizing atoms, enabling them to become chemically useful in interactions. So it's the battery is the photon comes in and it's essentially adding pressure to atoms, that is adding heat. And that heat is being converted into potential energy for later, into storage of chemical energy. But it has nothing, there's no QM necessity here. It's just absolute horseshit. It's just chemistry. So that was a fair question, in a way. But again, it's a little bit off the track in the sense that I'm arguing the fundamentals of QM. And again, saying that somebody says photosynthesis is using QM is just like when that idiotic article said we have a quantum gas. There's no such thing as a quantum gas. You have to separate. The point is you have to separate their causal explanations from what we know are effects. So we know that electrons, depending on the circumstance in which you interact with them, you can have electrons move in different vectors. And the straightest line presumably would be the middle one, let's say, the shortest distance. You want the electron to go from point A to point B. And the fact is the electron wants to move to point C, D, E, F, or some other place before it goes to B. And the idea would be is you want a mechanism where you can narrow those possibilities. And the truth is you can. Just like you can polish glass and change its reflectivity. So the probability can be manipulated. And it's not it's not Heisenberg that's going to do the manipulation. It's not quantum mechanics that's going to do the manipulation. It's going to be the physical circumstance. The actual experiment is going to dictate what the probabilities are. Use my choke. Yeah, I've been talking a long time. That's probably it. I haven't been drinking. Bottle's empty. No fluids. Oh, this really is quite enough. Yes, I just remembered. Oh, this is quite enough. Adrian. I had a friend called Adrian. Well, I guess it was a friend. I don't know. It wasn't really a friend. Acquaintance. I mean, something that passed through my film strip. Anyway. So, this is goodbye now. Yes, we'll go. And I'll watch myself for a while until I get tired. Yeah, I'll just watch my own videos. I enjoy them so much more than other people's videos. It's the truth. All right, so till the next time. Sorry about the excessive length of the video. It just happened to be, it's probably 2 hours and 40 minutes or something, 2 hours and 50. It's almost 3 hours. I should hang in there for 3 hours just to make it 3 hours, but fuck it. Anyway, till the next time and such.